little a lot. It's a little a lot. I am dreading my PT later. My ankle's actually hurt a little bit lately. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, we don't have much time to waste. I have a very hard get off time, so we have to dive into it. I want to start by saying I was watching the Thursday night game last night. Thursday night football, valiant comeback attempts by Kyler Murray, former Allen Eagle. Dude. All right. It's kind of this music's kind of a lot. The new kickoff rules in the NFL fucking reek. They're horrible. They're god awful. If you think they're good, I don't know what to tell you. You think everything's good, you'll take whatever medicine the shield shoves down your throat. It's horrible. The Seahawks needed one play. One play to get into field goal range after a crazy comeback. Just one singular play. So stupid. Change them now. Change them now or I'll change them for you. Roger. Whose name is Roger? I mean, really, whose name is Roger? Whose name is Roger, man? Who knows any Rogers? What is Roger short for? Rogerford? Is Roger short for Rogerford? Or am I thinking of another name? Roger Thew? Rogert. Oh, Rogerson. I guess it depends. I guess it varies, huh? That makes sense. All right, we got media day on Monday for the Mavericks. Thankfully, that starts in the morning, so that'll already be going on by the time I'm live. Ryder Cup's going on. Couldn't even begin to describe this event to you. I've got no idea what it is. Wait, hold on. I do have the Ryder Cup on. Look, this is what it says at the top. This is on the TV station. Attention, YouTube TV customers. YouTube TV is added again and may drop this channel and your favorite sports and shows. Go to getyourchannels.com to learn more. Yeah, I'll be going live same time on Monday. I mean, you know, I'm not a big media day person, to be honest with you. I'm not a big media day guy. Just being honest, you know. Hilarious Locked On episode last night. Yeah, I thought that was one of the better Locked On ones. I do kind of feel bad for Nick because I was like, yeah, I'm finally locked in. And Nick was like, well, good thing that you've been doing shows with us all off season. I want to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be real, bro. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't been very locked in on the shows. No, I'm not going on the I'm not going to media day. I'm not credentialed. I mean, I'm sure if I really wanted to, we could pull enough strings. But not really my thing. Not really my thing, interviewing players. That's not. It's not, you know. I don't know. Media day seems like an awful thing to attend. It really depends. All right. Yeah, Nick and Isaac, they usually get their own little booth, which I think if that happens, it's pretty worth it. But I don't know if they're going to get one this year. TBD. We'll see on Monday, huh? If you guys haven't liked the stream yet, make sure you do so. Helps me out tremendously. Let's YouTube know having a great time, of which we are. To be fair, you didn't even get a vote in the Locked On host top 100, so you don't consider your host a guest. Well, I mean, I'm not under contract with Locked On. I am just a reoccurring guest, technically. I guess that is what I'm considered. All right. Let's just not waste any more time. Let's get into it. I'm not expecting much from Media Day. I'm going to be honest with you. I highly doubt they put themselves in a position where they're getting asked a million questions about the trade again. That's just my opinion. It would be very surprising to me if they find themselves in that position again. Very surprising. Have you met the guy who created the Locked On Network? I have not, no. Should I get a face-to-face meeting with him? All right, let's go. Top 100 players in the NBA. By the. Now, in years past, this has been a 4 to 5 hour long stream where we have painstakingly talked about each player. That is not going to be the case today. Today, we're going to fly through the 100 through 50 range and really kind of fly through the 50 to 25 range and then really kind of hammer down then. I'll just stop when there's like something worth talking about, because there's just some guys that's just like, yeah, well, you know, we'll get to it when we get to it, right? Background music or no background music? I always wonder, what's y'all's preference on that? Music in the background or no? I'm trying to think what I would like on a stream. I kind of think nothing, but I'm interested to hear y'all's. And different? That's kind of how I feel. Yeah, okay. No, I agree. The music can be a little distracting. Especially like sometimes on playlists like these, it gets to some like really weird shit. All right, let's go. Top 100 players in the NBA by the. I am not putting this whole thing on the Clips channel. I'm only going to do some on the Clips channel. So if you want to come back and revisit this, you have to come here. Here we go. Top 100 players by the. Now let's start here. There's going to be injured players that are not on this list, obviously. Tatum, who might play this year. Who the fuck knows? I doubt it, honestly. That would be my guess. I don't think the Celtics will be good enough. Tyrese Halliburton not playing this year. Damian Lillard not playing this year. Fred VanVleet almost certainly not playing this year. Those guys are not listed. Now, I am going to list Kyrie. Only because he will be back this year. I'm so confident Kyrie will be playing basketball this season. In fact, I think he'll probably play a decent chunk of games. So because of that, I am including Kyrie Irving and maybe a couple of other guys who are starting the season injured. So that's the reason why I am having Kyrie on this list. Because, again, I expect him to play fully. I don't think these guys play a game, right? I don't think these guys play a single minute this season. Dropouts. We had quite a bit of guys that did not make this list who made my preseason list last year. Just for those of you just tuning in, this is a predictive list. So this is kind of, I'm trying to figure out where these guys might be by the end of the season, where we might rank these guys at the end of the season. So this is who I had in my preseason rankings last year that are no longer there. Bogey had a rough season last year. Colin Sexton, Jonathan Isaac. I was surprised to see his name there. Okay, I'd have to go back and listen to my logic there. Nick Claxton is off. He needs a point guard. He needs a real serious point guard. He could be back in here 100%. Mike Conley pains me. You know, he's just getting older. Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart could make this list again, but he's played like 40 games the last 2 years. Malik Monk, Anthony Simons. I mean, all these guys like in the 80 to 100 range are, you know, interchangeable, really. Clay's out. DiVincenzo could sneak his way back into this list, especially with Nikhil Alexander-Walker gone. Emmanuel quickly easily could make this list. CJ McCollum, I think, is washed. Brooke, I think, is washed. Kuminga, I'm just fucking done with as a player. Devin Vassell, I'm done getting embarrassed by you. Bradley Beal, again, I don't know, contributing to winning basketball and things of that nature. Maybe this new role in Los Angeles will be better for him, but I'm done with him, really. Chris Middleton wasn't half bad, really, last year, but getting up there in age on a weird Washington team could be like a pretty sneaky, gets moved somewhere at the deadline and becomes a contributor. I think that could happen. And then DeJounte. So DeJounte, let's talk about DeJounte real quick, because he's kind of similar to Kyrie. DeJounte tore his Achilles in what, January? That one's a little bit. He's probably going to be back at some point this season, but the Achilles and stuff, that's just you don't really know. You don't want to mess with it, you know. So because of that, I do not have him ranked. My honorable mentions: Case and Wallace. I can't believe didn't make it. He just didn't make it. The reason he was absolutely in there, and then last second he got taken out because admittedly I forgot about somebody. Somebody I completely forgot about. But I do believe Casey Wallace will be a top 100 player. And there's a guy at number 100 that I wanted in. So, sorry, Casey. Klingon, I think, has a shot. Tari Eason, I think, has a shot. Keon Ellis, I think, is somebody who deserves at least a shout. Jalen Duren, if he builds off of how he ended the regular season last year over the last few months, I think he's probably a top 100 player in the league. Stephon Castle, just a lot of guards back there. I don't think I know he won Rookie of the Year last year. I don't think he was a top 100 player in the NBA last year. But, is somebody who can continue to take a couple steps forward. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, just on the outside. Reed Shepard, I don't have close, but I'm just wanting to mention him because it could happen. Zach Edey, I don't think he's a top 100 player. Dylan Harper, Trey Johnson, 2 rookies. I think Trey Johnson's, honest to God, going to be Flag's biggest competitor for Rookie of the Year. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But yeah. These are my honorable mentions. And I want to throw a couple other guys out there like, TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, some of those guys on the Pacers, especially as they are just going to be digging deep for some pieces. No Jonas Valanciunas. I cannot believe he was on ESPN's list. That's one of the more shocking ones. All right, let's get into the actual list. 100 through 90, Daniel Gafford. Number 100. And I just want to say the 100 through like 80 range is, I'm calling some shots, right? I want to be correct on some of these. I want to take a shot on some younger guys and be right. But I do think Gafford's one of the best, if not maybe the best backup big in the NBA. Absolutely could be a starting level player. Does a lot of things that no, Gafford was always in it. Again, I forgot somebody that I'll get to in a bit. And I still cheated the system because I wanted Gafford in. But I've changed my approach on center. So Vucevic isn't on this list. And my logic behind something like that is like, realistically, if Vucevic is my center, where am I going? Cool, he can pop threes. Like, that's all great. But realistically speaking, what am I doing with Vucevic as my starting center? He can't defend the rim. He's a liability defensively. Gafford sets hard screens, rolls to the rim incredibly hard, great lob catcher, really active on the glass offensively. Not a great defensive rebounder, which is kind of a pitfall of his. But also, a good shot blocker and a good rim protector. Just does all the stuff you really want a center to do. Especially like one that isn't going to be a focal point of your team. Set hard screens, roll hard as fuck to the rim, compete on the glass offensively, block shots. Gafford does all of that. Great energy, big. I think he's a top 100 player. Honest to God, I do. Sarr. So Sarr is me taking a shot, right? Now, here's the thing with Sarr. I am predicting with him that his defense takes another step and becomes so impactful that he's a top 100 player in terms of impact. This isn't me saying his offense is going to take a step forward. I really don't think that. It might marginally improve from where it was a season ago. And if that is the case, and he takes a step up defensively, then that will be encouraging. And I think that's top 100 player impact. Wiggins, I have here. I'm really interested to see how Wiggins' season goes. Was okay with Miami, but if he gets traded or something midseason, I'm really interested to see how that ends up playing out. And I like his fit next to Bam, honestly. Feels like that's like a legitimate 4 next to Bam. We haven't really seen much of that. Jabari Smith Jr., really, really weird player to rank. Got paid, deservingly so. Hasn't really produced at the level you'd want yet, but it's there. It's there. You can sense it. You can see it. Josh Hart, or PJ Washington at 96, Josh Hart 95, Jalen Green 94, Drew Holiday 93, Pritchard 92, Ivy 91, and Risha Shea 90. Josh Hart over PJ and Jabari. So Josh Hart is a kind of a hard one to rank. I can't really get the taste out of some of the playoff stuff with him out of my mouth. Any guy that teams are just okay not guarding, I think is automatically going to take a hit in my book. But he's also like a really impactful glue guy. So he's a difficult player to rank. It really depends on your team situation, where he fits in best. Like the Knicks, I think they're better off with him coming off the bench, right? But point still remains. Jalen Green, I just can't quit. This is it, though. This is absolutely it for him. He wasn't terrible last year at all. And I do think with Fred VanVleet's injury, it's going to shine a bigger light on the fact that Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green played a fuck ton of games and a fuck ton of minutes for that team last year. And now with Fred VanVleet also gone, you're losing 3 like big time rotation players. So that's going to hurt them in more ways than one because of that. But this is absolutely the last hurrah for Jalen Green on this list. If it's not next year, then it's never. PJ Washington, obviously dirty work, do it all forward. Love him. He is who he is. Drew, love him. In a different world, I think, where he's not making as much money, I think that him on the Mavericks would have been really interesting if they made a play like that. But the contracts and stuff like that made it next to impossible. He did take a bit of a step back last year, and he's getting to the point where it's like, well, some of these older guys, if I see you take a step back, I'm just going to assume we're going to continue to see steps back. And with a Portland team that I think will be pretty feisty, I don't know if it'll be as impactful as it was like on a team like Boston. Pritchard, speaking of the Celtics, I think he's going to have a really solid year. Obviously, just won 6th Man of the Year, but it's such an interesting player offensively. I'm really interested to see what Pritchard... Would it be that shocking if Pritchard averages some stupid-ass stats? I don't think that would surprise me that much. Jay Ivey is a shot that I'm taking, right, with some pretty big like changes this offseason for Detroit. I think them letting Dennis Schroeder walk, to me, indicates that they feel good about Ivy, who got hurt last year and looked really good before he got injured. So I'm in on Ivy. I think he's going to be a great 1-2 punch with Cade Cunningham. Obviously, if you watch the Slightly GM series, you know that Jaden Ivey turned into one of the best 6 men of the year, one of the best 6 men in the entire NBA with that dynasty Dallas Mavericks team. But I'm in on Jaden Ivey. As we saw the leaps from the shooting, the perimeter shooting, which is absolutely crucial, playing next to a guy like Cade Cunningham. And if he continues to grow on that, he's obviously got insane bounce, a very athletic, skilled individual guy. Year 3, correct? Are we in year 3 or year 4 of Jaden Ivey? Year 3. Year 3, right? You think they start Pritchard Simons? I mean, I don't know, actually. Good question. I don't think they want Anthony Simons. So I don't know. I think Anthony Simons is just there. Riche, I'm taking a stab at too. Really encouraging last few months of his rookie season. And I think for what this Atlanta team's going to try and do this upcoming season, I think Riche is really going to be an impactful player. With his defense, with his size, his three-point shooting, I think I'm in on Riche 100%. I think he's going to continue to grow in year 2 and really, really blossom in his role, playing off of Trey, playing off of Jalen Johnson. I think I'm in on Zachary Riche 100%. All right, 89 through 80. Let's just list them. DeAndre Hunter, 89. RJ Barrett, 88. So here's where I cheated a little bit. I forgot about Mitchell Robinson. Completely forgot about him. I don't know how he slid through the cracks, but I do think he's a top 100 player. So I just kind of paired him, Onyeka Okongwu and Mitchell Robinson together. Herb Jones, 86. Norm Powell, 85. Walker Kessler, 84. Naz Reid, 83. Tumani Kamara, 82. MPJ, 81. And Jakob Poeltl, 80. Yeah, I think DeAndre Hunter had a great year last year. And it could be, the 3-point shooting stuff. It could be a one-off, right? It could just be one of these, outlier years that guys have every now and then when it comes to 3-point shooting. But if he's hovering around 40% from 3, yeah, he's an incredibly impactful player because he does have some individual creation skills, which I think is just perfect on a team like Cleveland where he's not required to do that, but it's really nice secondary and tertiary stuff, attacking closeouts and shifted defenses. I like that quite a bit. And I think he's an impactful enough defender. So I do like DeAndre Hunter. I just think his skill set, to me, is a very valuable player in this league. RJ Barrett is just such a difficult player to rank because you look at his stats and you're like, all right, they're impressive. Like, his numbers are impressive. Like, they're almost like, let me pull up RJ Barrett's stats. Since he got to Toronto, it's like, what the fuck? RJ's averaging that? But then you watch him, and sometimes it just leaves a little bit to be desired, man. It really, it doesn't, it's, so he's played 90 games with Toronto, 20 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 50% from the field, 36 from three. Like, that's not half bad, right? I'd say he's definitely improved as a player over the last couple of years. Interested to see how that growth continues. But he's one of these, like, the eye test for some reason shows me a different player. Shows me a different player. It just does. Okongwu, I'm a fan of the 3-point shot taking up. If that's true and that's legitimate, and they've Capello's washed, but they're 100% cool with him being the starting center. If Okongwu's 3-point shot is something that's you have to take somewhat serious, yeah, the Hawks will be very, very fun to watch, I think, for a lot of different reasons. Mitchell Robinson, if he stays on the floor, obviously, insanely impactful. It sounds like he's probably going to start for the Knicks this year and have Josh Hart come off the bench, so they're going to go double big. Would you even consider that double big? Because I guess Cat is a prototypical four. Anyways, Mitchell Robinson, when he's on the floor, great rim protector, great rebounder, super high mode, all of that stuff. Herb Jones, I had him at 66 last year. That's way too high. Obviously, he needs to stay on the court. That goes without being said. But one of the best defenders in the NBA, even if it feels like maybe it's not as great as it felt like there was times a couple years ago, like before Wemby entered the league, where it was like, could Herb Jones win a defensive player of the year at some point in his career? Also offensively, leaves a little bit. Norm Powell, I am taking I'm banking on last year being like a just crazy Norm Powell year. Like he damn near, like there was people who thought he should make the All-Star game. I'm sort of banking on that not being the case again. But it'll be interesting. I anytime I do anything with Norm Powell, I'm like, oh yeah, he's on the Heat. Like that one just still is like, oh yeah, he's in Miami now. We'll see how that plays out. What's their guard rotation going to look like? I'm assuming Norm Powell is going to start. So it's going to be Hero and Norm. Interesting. Walker Kessler. Again, I mentioned this a couple days ago that the Locked On Jazz guys find it interesting that people think Walker Kessler's a top 100 player. So that scares me a little bit. But the thing with centers, he's an incredibly impactful defender. They're much better defensively when he's on the floor. I mean, I got to value that a little bit, right? And he's a good enough screener and a good enough rim runner that, there's something there, right? And maybe this is a product of, I'm gonna be real, like I don't watch enough Utah Jazz games, especially late in the season when they're fucking dog as shit. So maybe there's stuff that I'm missing there. Naz Reid, Naz Reid is Naz Reid. We know who he is at this point. I think it would have been interesting if he went somewhere else where he was like starting. And it would have been really interesting if he went somewhere like San Antonio and they threw him at the 4 or something, like starting next to Wemby. That would have been really interesting, right? But he kind of is who he is at this juncture. I think I'm a little bit lower on Naz Reid than others, but I do appreciate his game. I think there's people who think he's like a really good, there are people who think he's a good defender. There are people who think he's a good defender. Isn't a healthy Mitch Robinson just better than Kessler? Yeah, probably. I did factor in a tiny bit, since this is predictive. These guys, if it's like close, or there's guys I'm thinking super often injured guys, I got to knock down a couple pegs. That's just the reality. And that'll be more apparent as we move on. Toumani Camara, I'm fucking all in on. I'm all in on Toumani Camara. I'm a huge, ginormous believer. His offensive leaps that he's made already almost kind of feel like, let me watch my words. They've been very impressive, right? I was going to say, it feels like we might be hitting like outlier development. I don't know if we're going to get there really. But defensively, he is very, very good. And offensively, he's reached a point where it felt like a couple years ago, he was one of those guys where it's like, yeah, well, he might never be good enough offensively to play consistent minutes. But he's definitely reached that point already, which is encouraging, very encouraging. Michael Porter Jr., no idea what the fuck to do with him, honestly. If you didn't have Michael Porter Jr. ranked, I don't even think I'd argue with you, as crazy as that sounds. But, we'll see what it looks like in Brooklyn. I'd say there's about an 80% chance it's pretty ugly. But there's like a 20% chance where he's kind of the only guy and he's taking a lot of shots and it's not bad. I don't think there's a chance where it's like great, but there's a chance where it's not terrible and people are like, oh, interesting. But I'd say that's about a 20% chance. 80% chance it's pretty fucking disastrous. And then Jakob Poeltl at 80 just continues to be a rock solid center. You know what's interesting? Emmanuel Quickley was a little bit on the outside. And if Emmanuel Quickley sneaked his way in, I would have had 5 Toronto Raptors players ranked, I think. Which I don't know what to do with that information, really. Maybe they are better than I thought. 79 through 70. Let's list them. Josh Giddey at 79. Cam Johnson, 78. Paul George, 77. Miles Turner, 76. DeMar and Zach LaVine, 75 and 74. Aaron Nesmith, 73. Gobert, 72. D-Live, 71. And Hartenstein, 70. So let's Giddey is who he is. I'm probably higher on him than a little bit some other people. Yes, Paul George having an injury currently that might prevent him from starting the season is a reason why I have him in the 70s, in the low 70s. And then also beyond that, I don't think he was great last year in the few games he did play. And again, I said this with, who did I say, with Drew, I think. These older guys, if you take a step back, I'm just going to assume you're going to continue taking steps back. Like, I very rarely do these older guys like turn their career around late. So, yeah, Paul George to me, that contract is that the worst contract in the NBA already? I mean, it's entirely possible that's already the worst contract in the NBA. Absolutely disastrous. Cam Johnson, he is who he is. Going to be really nice playing off of Jokic. Miles Turner, I'm concerned about what we saw. I think Miles Turner's always been a streaky player for us Mavs fans. It's difficult to even say that because we see him and we automatically assume he's the greatest player to ever fucking play the sport because he just destroys the Mavericks. Miles Turner, I think what he does for your team is more impactful than the actual production, if that makes sense. Having a guy who can block shots, even though I think his defense has taken several steps back. But being a guy who can block shots and, in theory, space the floor enough, at least, to where, defenses have to check Miles Turner when he's at the three-point line. And he can put the ball on the deck a little bit. That's impactful for a team. And playing next to Giannis, that's going to be really good, right? So, just kind of one of those things. I know the playoffs were rough, especially the finals were really bad. DeMar and Zach LaVine I had back-to-back. These guys, I don't know what to do with. They're obviously very talented players, but do I want them on my team? No, not really. I mean, I can't imagine any team wants them. Like maybe, obviously, a contract. It's like, yeah, mid-level, Zach LaVine, of course, right? But like big money guys are talented enough to get paid a lot of money. That's just how it works in the league. Do I ever want one of these guys making a ton of money on my team? No. So I don't know what to do with them. In a team setting, I don't know what to do with them. I think they're two guys that are difficult to have on your team to build around. So that's why I have, what the fuck is this, man? Why are you sending me multiple notifications? Nesmith. So the reason why I have Nesmith at is Zach LaVine and DeRozan. Obviously, Zach LaVine and DeRozan are more talented players than Aaron Nesmith, but I'd rather have Aaron Nesmith. I would rather have Aaron Nesmith than either of those guys, right? Gets after it defensively, a little undersized, but holy fuck, he's going to compete maybe more than anyone else. And then, of course, when the playoffs start, he turns into demon mode. We're talking ritual sacrifices. We're talking demonic summonings. We're talking all of these different things that he gets into. He shot 50% from 3 in the playoffs. Like, Jesus Christ. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I would have Cam Johnson than Nesmith. So the reason why Cam Johnson might be a little bit lower, and I did actually have Cam Johnson ahead of Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Go look at Cam Johnson's history. It's a little bit more injury prone than you would think. And I do factor that in a tiny bit. So I saw somebody mention Gobert. I knocked Gobert down a few spots. Look, Gobert has lost a step or so defensively. If that trend continues, he was not who he was still a very high impact defender. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be on this list. He was still a very impactful defender and a good rebounder last year for Minnesota, but it was not where it was a couple of years ago when he won Defensive Player of the Year, obviously. Again, he's reaching that age. It could go quick for Gobert. I'm just letting you guys know. It could happen quickly for him because he is an absolute nothing on offense. He's fucking horrible offensively. We already know that. In the moment his defense just kind of leaves the elite category and even heads to good or great, he becomes a totally different player. He becomes a completely and totally different player, and that could be coming up soon. And that's why when I really started to dive in and do some research on these teams, the Timberwolves are the team that is a little weird to me. they're a little strange because Mike Conley and Gobert not being the players they used to be, and obviously Mike Conley's already been on that downward trend, but those two not being who they used to be could have some serious repercussions. Lively, I have at 71. I had him as high as 62 last year, which was definitely a finals boost, 100%. But I'm a huge believer in Derek Lively. For him, he's got to stay on the floor. I think he's played 80 career regular season games or something like that in 2 years. No, maybe it's more than that. It might be like 50 or 90. He's got to stay on the floor. But if he stays on the floor, I saw a report yesterday that the Mavericks think Derek Lively could win Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, obviously, a team's going to say that. But, I think he can be one of the most impactful defenders in the league. I think he can be a first-team all-defense guy. I think he's absolutely can be, and in fact, already is somebody who can anchor your defense, right? He moves incredibly well out in space. He's got very fluid hips. That's the thing that's the most encouraging thing about Derek Lively defending on the perimeter is how well he's able to move his hips. He's a fantastic defensive player, communicates really well. That's a thing everybody says about him, like in the organization, that he communicates really well defensively. Like literally the captain of the defense can play a bunch of different coverages. Like defensively, I think he is a budding star, right? Offensively, really, really, really talented playmaker for his age and being a center and a 7-footer, good passer, smart decision maker. His touch improved last year. His free throw shooting improved last year. Obviously the jump shot thing, I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't see it happening ever. But if he has a Brook Lopez type of arc, and again, Brook Lopez had great touch, like mid-range, was a post-up god. So if Derek Lively has some unprecedented three-point development, that changes his ceiling, I would say, quite significantly. But I'll believe that when I see it. And I do have Hartenstein here at 70. All of the things you want a center, 100%. Sets really good screens, really smart basketball player, good decision maker, perfect fit for Oklahoma City. I remember last year when we were doing our free agent predictions, we got to Hartenstein. I was like, he's going to the Thunder. I mean, that was like the easiest prediction of all time. Hartenstein's going to Oklahoma City. He fits like a glove. And yeah, you saw last year. They won the ring. So, Isaiah Hartenstein. 69 through 60. Let's rattle them off, baby. 69, Christian Brown. 68, Dyson Daniels. 67, Jalen Suggs. 66, Brandon Ingram. 65, Kobe White, who I think I might be a little too high on. I was noticing that when I was making this. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go back and change it. I already have all this shit listed out. Lou Dort, 64. Caruso, 63. Cooper Flagg, 62. Trey Murphy, 61. And Andrew Nimhard, 60. So Christian Brown had a great leap forward last year. If he continues to grow and progress, he'll be insanely important for that Nuggets team. However, they might enter this like weird phase where I wonder if deep down they're almost like, hopefully he just kind of stays around here and then we can pay him somewhat fair. But because I believe he's extension eligible next summer. Or no, he's just going to be a free agent next summer, right? That contract's going to be very interesting. That's going to be a very interesting contract extension because that could get really expensive. Dyson Daniels had, obviously most improved player last year. Fantastic season. Was awesome defensively. If he continues to take steps forward offensively, and the Hawks low-key might need that with Karis LeVert leaving. They might need that leap forward from Dyson Daniels, and they got rid of Kobe Buffkin. They might need that leap forward for Dyson. I'm still kind of shocked they did that, by the way. Did we ever talk about that? Them just like pawning off my guy, Kobe Buffkin. If he can take any significant stride offensively, that'd be really big for them, and obviously really big for himself. Jalen Suggs, I think, has the potential to be a top 50 player. He just has to stay on the court. Constant injuries with him. But obviously one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, and offensively has the profile, I think, to kind of be like a settling Fred VanVleet-esque. That's not a very good comparison. Floor general-esque presence. He has to continue to develop, but he has to stay on the floor first and foremost. Brandon Ingram's like one of the hardest players to rank on any of these lists ever. Very similar to like DeRozan, the DeRozan types, where it's like, do I want Brandon Ingram? Like, I recognize a guy like Brandon Ingram's going to make $40 million in the NBA. Do I want to pay him that, though, on my team? Not really. Would I love to have Brandon Ingram at $15 million? Oh, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Do I want to pay him $40 million? No. But he is good. He's very talented. Kobe White at 65. He's also very difficult to rank. Last year, I kind of thought, I remember I ranked him lower than most people last year because I thought that might be like, let's take it easy. He was great again last year. And he's somebody, too, where he could end up on a new team at the trade deadline and be very impactful over the last few months of the season. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're looking at him differently. Lou Dort, get your hate off. I don't give a shit. This guy, he's a football player out there in every sense of the word. He's built like a brick shit house. He plays insanely physical. He's got a dirty streak about him. But he is one of the best defensive players in the league. And you know what? He's not. There's time. I don't understand his 3-point shot. I mean, I don't understand the arc on it. It makes no sense. That thing's up in the air for 50 seconds, right? It's insane how much arc he gets on his 3-point shot. But hey, it's really not that bad. Dirty Dort. I call him Dirty Dort, folks. I'll never respect Lou Dork. You need Pooh Dork for flopping around screens. Yeah, he's annoying as fuck. Does anybody outside of Oklahoma City Thunder fans like Lou Dort? I mean, he's entered that territory, especially now that the Thunder have won one and are going to be on national TV all the time and are going to be the team with the target on their back and are going to have deep playoff run after deep playoff run after deep playoff run. Lou Dort's going to hate him. Everyone's going to hate Lou Dort. He's going to be one of the most hated players in the league. Nobody's going to like him. But that also is kind of reserved for, you know, if you've reached that stratosphere, the reality is you're probably a really good defender. That's just annoying as shit. And that is where Lou Dort has reached. Caruso, this is just a testament to how unbelievably insane Caruso is as a defensive player. I mean, how many games did the Thunder have in the postseason last year where it was maybe a little like, you know, it's crazy to say because they won the NBA championship, but I did think they had kind of a disappointing postseason run. Just in terms of like, I thought they would dominate and cruise, right? But how many games did it feel like the things were slipping away from the Thunder? And then Caruso would check in and not only make plays defensively, but then hit like some huge clutch threes to keep them in games, right? I mean, it's a testament because he's not a great offensive player. He did shoot 41% from three in the playoffs for them, which was just, again, absolutely massive. He was really good in the playoffs. It just, yeah, every time Caruso checked into the game, it feels like you're going to get a couple of steals. You know, it's just going to be like we're only down by 3. Okay, we've got the Thunder on the ropes. We're only down by 3. We've got a chance here. Caruso checks in, gets a steal, leads to a fast break layup, then forces a shot clock violation, then hits an open 3, then forces a difficult shot that clanks off the side of the rim, and the next thing you know, you're down by 14. Next thing you know, you're down by 14 points. That's the Caruso effect. I got Flag here at 62. The closer we get to the season, the more I look around the league. I'm ready to get hurt. That's kind of where I'm at with Flag. I'm ready to get hurt. I was maybe tempering my expectations a tiny bit with him. Not that I didn't think he was going to be good. I think he's going to be awesome. But I didn't want to get my hopes up too high. I didn't want to get my expectations up too high. The closer we get, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. It's 62. 62. Is that, where did ESPN have him that people shit on ESPN for? You could do the whole he's a rookie, you shouldn't rank rookies. Every year, I touched on this on Locked On. Every year, there's at least a couple rookies that are top 100 players by the end of the season. These are predictive lists. And I think Flag's skill set fits perfectly with this Mavs team. And I'm just so incredibly excited to watch. I'm excited to watch how his athleticism translates to the NBA because I think that's a huge thing. We'll just see how it looks. I'm excited to watch his defense. I'm excited to watch his playmaking, playing off of a guy like Klay Thompson, even like a shooter like D'Lo, who's a great shooter. AD on pick and rolls, Lively on pick and rolls. Like, I'm really excited to watch all of this, and I think there's going to be some rocky moments, but I'm pumped. I am. Trey Murphy's a hard player because I think I've said this on here before. He feels kind of like if I want people to say ball, I want to say Trey Murphy's really good. And to the point where I was like, I think he's kind of overrated now. But then again, I was thinking about this, looking at his numbers. He's a fucking really good player. He's got to stay on the floor, obviously. But the range, the size, defense, I think, is a little tiny bit underwhelming for his size, if I'm being real. But I'm here on Trey Murphy. I'm interested to see how it plays out with him. No, he's not a number one option. He's not a number one option. I mean, if you're around this range, you shouldn't be a number one option, right? If you're around this range, you should not be the number one option on your team, or else your team's probably absolute dog shit, right? That's just the truth. And then Nembhard here at 60. I think he's one of the most... Andrew Nembhard is one of the most bizarre players in the league. This Pacers team, again, it's devil magic, where Nembhard has these regular seasons, and there will be stretches in games where you're like, oh, hell yeah. There's the Andrew Nembhard we thought was about to break out. But he'll have these like these regular seasons where you're like, man, that was it? Like, Nembhard shot 29% from three last year in the regular season. Any guesses on what he shot from three in the playoffs? Any guesses? 29% in the regular season from three. What do you think he shot from three in the playoffs off the top of y'all's head? I would never have guessed this. 41? No, not 41. I'll spoil it. 46! Neesmith shot 50% from three, and Nembhard shot 46. And you want to tell me that they're not sacrificing children underneath their stadium? You want to tell me that they're not sacrificing animals, living animals, in the locker room at halftime? Like, yeah, fucking right. But without Tyrese Halliburton, obviously, this is the opportunity for Nembhard. We've kind of, last year, coming off of their conference finals run the year before, we thought the Nembhard boost was coming because of how insanely good he was in the postseason, and it just didn't happen. Wasn't he dealing with an injury over the course of the season too? But without Halliburton, it has to happen now. Yeah, because his point of attack defense is great, and you see it. Like, it'd be one thing if we're just projecting this based off nothing, really. But, I mean, it's two playoff runs, deep playoff runs where he's been insanely good. So I think it's happening here. You know, I think it is. All right, 59 through 50. I've got a couple of bold claims here. Denny Avdia at 59, Brandon Miller at 58. I'll talk about that in a second. KP at 57, Markkanen at 56, Asar Thompson at 55. I'll talk about that in a second. Reeves at 54, Jaden McDaniels at 53, Mikal Bridges 52, Jared Allen 51, and Scotty Barnes 50. Avdia had a great season last year. I think if I had a most improved vote, I probably would have given it to him. Connor, 21 months. Are you in the top 50 of the list slightly? Me? Yeah. Well, no, because of the injury stuff. Brandon Miller at 58. I'm a big Brandon Miller guy. I don't think guys who come into the league as rookies and show the flashes that he showed offensively are rare, and typically those guys become special NBA players. I'm in on him. Obviously, unfortunately, he only played 20 games last year, right? But in those 20 games, very briefly, the playmaking flashes he showed were incredible improvements from his rookie year to his sophomore year. So I'm in on Brandon Miller. I'm hoping he stays healthy. Obviously, it's kind of a wonky ass team, but at his size and his individual skill, yeah, I'm 100% in on Brandon Miller taking another step forward going into year three. And year three is typically when guys like this have pretty sizable leaps. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Brandon Miller makes an all-star game this year. I don't think so. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Now we'll see though, because again, he only played 20 games last year, which does suck. If I'm making like a year three major breakout, I'd like to not have a guy miss pretty much his entire second year and also not play on the Hornets. And no offense to the Hornets, but they're god-awful dog shit. KP at 57. Really difficult player to rank. Get KP off this list, no question. Difficult player to rank. Last year was a bit of a letdown and a disappointment. It's funny because earlier this morning I saw a clip of a Boston Celtics fan clipping KP post-ups from last year saying the worst play in basketball is a Kristaps Porzingis post-up. Well, that would have been nice if that was the case in the NBA Finals, Game 1. Like, that would have been cool. if that were true. But I agree with you, though. In years past, yeah, it had always been utter absolute dog shit. I witnessed it with my own two eyes. But anyways, KP, it still has that unicorn skill set where it's kind of just, I mentioned this with Miles Turner, just having him out there is impactful. The impact goes beyond the stats because you have this 7'3" guy who can shoot from 30 feet. It can block shots, and in theory should be able to post up smaller guards. So when he's playing like the 4, he's playing next to another big, or he's playing with Jalen Johnson or something, Trae Young, and they're spamming pick and rolls, and you're having to switch guys. Like, it should lead to an absolute nightmare. Now we'll see, but that remains to be seen. Asar, so I'm high on Asar. Asar is an absolute fucking menace defensively. Now, where he's different from his brother, who is ranked higher ahead of him here, Asar's touch around the rim hasn't really kept up with Amin's, where Amin take a step forward there. But Asar is, I mean, there's some defensive metrics that say Asar Thompson was a better defensive player than Amin Thompson this past year, and then one of like the 3 best defensive players in the entire NBA. So he is obviously these two, the twins, unbelievable athletes, maybe the best functional athletes in the NBA. I mean, and they're up there for like some of the most athletic players to ever play the sport. I mean, that's how insanely athletic they are. And they're starting to put stuff together offensively to the point where I don't know if they'll ever be like 3-point shooters, but they're starting to hone in on using that quick twitch athleticism and that insane burst and speed to get to the rim. So I am lower on Asar than Amin, but I am still really high on Asar. And I'll bank on that athleticism 100%. And he is such an impactful defender that he's up here. I agree, Asar is underrated. I don't understand when people like, ESPN did not have Asar on their list, did they? But they had Amin stupid high. And I'm like, I don't understand the logic there. I get this could be like a Markieff Morris situation where it's like one's just a little bit better than the other. But like Asar is, at least defensively, like pretty close. Reeves feels high. So Reeves obviously had some disappointing playoff performances. I still think he's a really, really rock solid player. I think this feels just about right for him. If he's my number 2, if he's my number 3, I feel great. I do think he's one of the best third guys in the league. He can play off ball. I think he's a little underappreciated. As kind of weird as that is to say, white guy on the Lakers typically get about 20 to 30% boosts by everybody. But I actually think he's underappreciated just because there's the LeBron effect and now the Luka effect. And Luka stands are exactly like LeBron stands in this way, where we have to blame. There has to be somebody that we get mad at and blame for everything. And Reeves has kind of become that guy at times for them. But as somebody who is insanely efficient, can shoot threes, can create for himself offensively, is a very, very smart and talented playmaker. Yeah, I think this feels about right for him, actually. And defensively, I think he competes a little bit more than people think, but he's not a good defender. So having him with like Luka and LeBron and some of the other, groups they have out there. So, yeah. Asar doesn't have the ball handling Amin has. Yeah, I mean, this is why I have Amin, and we'll get to Amin here in a bit, but I have Amin quite a bit higher than Asar. Jaden McDaniels, really interesting player. Really, really interesting player. Jaden McDaniels falls into this category of guys where it's like, you'll watch his game, and then you'll look at his stats, and you'll be like, what? What am I missing? Like, am I missing when he scores all the points? Like, am I missing, like, the point scoring? I just don't tune in for those games. But yeah, I think he is obviously around a top 50 player in the league when you combine his defense with the flashes he does have offensively. And he was really good in the playoffs for them. Same thing with Mikal. I think Jaden McDaniels and Mikal Bridges are really comparable players, although I'd say the offensive... I think defensively, especially Mikal kind of had a weird year last year defensively. McDaniels, I think, is a better defensive player than Mikal Bridges, but Mikal Bridges is a better offensive player. And when he was going last year, the Knicks damn near felt unbeatable. When the Knicks got into these close fourth quarter games and Mikal was able to turn it on and he's hitting those free throw line turnaround jumpers that he just like mastered last year. they felt like damn near unbeatable at times. But he's got to be more consistent in the offense. And people blame Thibodeau for that. People blame Brunson for that. And same thing with Cat. I think it's on both of those guys, though, as well, to just take control and have the ball in their hands and go out and do shit. Most overrated defender, who? Mikal Bridges? I think he's a bit overrated as a defender. I don't think he's the best defender on his team. We'll get to that guy in a bit. Jared Allen, yeah, I don't know what to do with him. Poops and pees his pants in the playoffs every year, but really good center. But again, does poop and pee his playoffs or his pants. AR was useless in the playoffs. Yeah, I know. Austin Reeves was not great last year in the playoffs. I agree with you. And newsflash, by the way, the Lakers fucking sucked dick. Period. In that series, they got shitted on. So that's just what happened. I got Scotty Barnes at 50, but this is probably a little low. Just really uninspired with the last couple of years from him. And I used to be like a Scotty Barnes has MVP upside guy. I actually did say that and believed it. But, we'll see. He's still young enough, and hopefully he stays healthy enough to put together a really solid season. I'm not selling any stock. How much do you think AR commands the open market next year? Assuming he has a good season, I think Reeves could easily get a $30 million a year bare minimum offer from someone. I'd have to see who has money, though. All right, let's get in the top 50. We're going to go 5 at a time now. 49 through 45. OG Anunoby, 49. Tyler Hero, 48. Desmond Bane, 47. Draymond, 46. Aaron Gordon, 45. OG, I think, honestly, I've always said this. How many overrated, underrated guys actually exist in the NBA with how social media is now? Everybody's underrated and overrated at the same exact time. I do think OG might be one of the most underrated guys in the league. I really do. He is, first and foremost, the guy's fucking ginormous. OG Anunoby is just a gigantic human being. And defensively, OG is super overrated. You see what I'm saying? Defensively, the guy is one of the more impactful defenders in the league. Also because of how versatile he is as a defender. Right? OG not better than Scotty Barnes. Show me, Scotty. Show me something this year. Show me something this year. Show me something this year. You'll notice guys that have burnt me in the past I've been really high on take a little bit of a hit from me. And Scotty's one of those guys. Tyler Hero, I have at 48. I think he's been very disrespected in any of these top 100 lists. Tyler Hero is just flat out a good player. Obviously made the All-Star game last year, deservingly so. But yeah, Tyler Hero to me, really, it's, he's 6'6". That's always so shocking to me about Hero. In my brain, he's like 6'2", but he's got good size. And he looked pretty rough against the Cavs in the playoffs, and the Heat just got absolutely fucking throttled. Got absolutely throttled in that series against the Cavs. Inconsistent on offense, can't create his own shot. Who are you talking about? Thought he was 6'3" on everything. No, he is 6'6". It is surprising to me. Anytime I realize how tall Tyler Hero is. Desmond Bane, 47. Really interested in the season he has. I think this is just perpetually where Desmond Bane's going to be. I think this is just where Desmond Bane will consistently be. Right inside of the top 50. Do we think he can get higher than that on this Magic team? Don't know if he'll have any of the responsibility. When he got thrusted into being the lead ball handler a couple years ago with the Grizzlies, it really wasn't that bad. If he gets thrusted into that role in this Magic team, things have gone disastrously wrong. Draymond to me is still Bane is the second most important Magic player this season. I get why you would say that. I'm going to disagree with you, though. I get what you're saying, but I'm going to disagree with you, though, only because I think Paolo has superstar upside this year. I think Franz has all-star upside. So just because if those two guys make that leap, Orlando doesn't have a good enough point guard to help Desmond excel. But I think they have good enough playmaking around him at other positions. And Desmond Bane, man, he's pretty point guard proof. Like, he was doing career best stuff without John Morant. Desmond thrives off driving kick, which was Ja's speciality. Bane's much more multifaceted than that, honestly. I still think Draymond is one of the absolute best defensive players in the NBA. And also, I don't know how you can watch Warriors games and just see what he does as a playmaker. I mean, he's still the captain of that fucking offense. So, yeah, he's a top 50 player for me, just based off of pure impact alone. Same thing with Aaron Gordon. Defensively, so incredibly important for that Denver team. And if he's like, he had a great 3-point shooting season last year, like unbelievably great. Was it the best? Was he the best 3-point shooter in the league last year? Was he the best 3-point shooter? Tyler Hero was an all-star last year, but he's considered barely a top 50 player. I mean, injuries and stuff, like, there's a lot that goes into the all-star voting. Like, Aaron Gordon's not going to make an all-star team, right? But let's sit down and be honest. There are absolutely teams who would take Aaron Gordon over Tyler Hero. Yeah, Aaron Gordon was fucking incredible last year. Look, if he doesn't have that hamstring problem, who knows? Who knows what happens? Who knows what happens? Obviously, the Nuggets got pounced in Game 7, but he had that hamstring issue he was playing through. Who knows? Who knows? And Aaron Gordon's also one of these players where it's like, if he's hitting threes, yeah, if he's making like those fall away mid-range jumpers, it's like, how the fuck are we going to win this game? Like, how are we going to win this one? How are we going to pull this one out? Love his game. OKC only lost one game at home in the playoffs. I think we know. I mean, I would have picked the Thunder to win that game either way, but it is one of the what ifs. 44 through 40. So I have Jimmy Butler here at 44, and I'm happy to talk about it here in a second. Derek White at 43, Jalen Johnson 42, Franz at 41, and Zubats at 40. So Jimmy, I've said this. I know he was dealing with an injury. He got injured in the playoffs and was trying to fight through it. He's just getting old, man. And I get his impact stuff. There were so many times last year, especially in the playoffs, and again, I know he was dealing with an injury, but he deals with injuries all the fucking time, and he's just getting older. Right? He's just getting older. There are times it's like, Jimmy, please, you have to take this game. You have no other choice than to take this game over. No other fucking choice. And he just didn't do it. And it worries me with his age. It just does. It concerns me with his age. Now I'm happy to eat crow on this. Right? I'm happy to eat crow on this. Obviously, this is the Jimmy Butler experience, and for some reason, it just goes so under discussed. A disgusting percent of his points come from the free throw line. Does that feel like something that's just going to happen his whole career? Maybe. D. White, I think, is the most overrated player. I have Derek White here at 43. So I get why you might say that. And then you watch a Celtics game, and then even with Tatum and Brown healthy and playing, right? Those are two all-stars, all NBA guys, right? And then Derek White there are plenty of games where Derek White feels like their second best player, or even times their best player. And it's difficult to describe because he doesn't have a super deep bag. You know, he's not like this super unbelievable athlete, but he just makes the right play almost every time. When the ball's in his hands, you weirdly just feel like something good's probably coming. He always is in the right spot defensively. Yeah, every team in the league wants a Derek White. Every single team in the league wants Derek White. Yeah, I agree. Having him like top 30, top 25 or whatever, yeah, that's maybe a little too rich for my blood. But I mean, White is a better player than JB in every way. JB just has way higher upside than Derek White. That's just the reality. I am interested to see what Derek White looks like this year without Tatum. If there's a world where, and again, I think the Celtics will be terrible. And I don't think it has anything to do with Derek White or Jaylen Brown. I think it has something to do with Jaylen Brown. It has everything else to do with, like, dude, who's playing center? Guys, you need a center in the league. All right? You need a center. Okay? You have to have a center. So that's why. But I am interested to see. And if they are good, right, or at least like punching above their weight a little bit, and they're lingering at like the 5th, 4th seed conversation, I think Derek White will probably enter another category, might make an all-star game. Like, that's probably what will end up happening. Jalen Johnson, I'm all the fuck in on. He just has to stay on the floor. That's really it. You watch this guy play, and it's there. He's got it. He does everything. And as always, the case with these guys, if you give me a forward how tall is he? 6'9", 6'10". You give me a guy like this who's going to be involved in pick and rolls all the time, and you show me his playmaking upside and flashes, I'm all the fuck in on. I'm all in on. I'm in on that, absolutely. Jalen Johnson, that is such a great, Jeremy, that's such a great, I think Jalen Johnson is a pretty apt comparison for Cooper Flagg. I really do. And you might hear that and think that's a slight on Flagg. I'm really high on Jalen Johnson. I think Flagg can be better than Jalen Johnson, obviously. I think he's got a little bit more self-creation upside and juice. I think he's just a better defender, probably, too. But absolutely, I think there's a lot of similarities there, 100%. And I honestly hope, and I think Flagg has some better like lead ball handler upside than Jalen Johnson, obviously. But I hope the Mavericks honestly take a look at how the Hawks utilize Jalen Johnson from time to time, inverting pick and rolls and then having him as a screener. Because I think it's going to be really easy for the Mavericks to have Cooper Flagg bring the ball up the floor, get ball screens, come off of those. I want Flagg to set a ton of ball screens. That is really what I want in year one. I want Flagg to set a bunch of ball screens and roll to the rim. That, I think, would be such a great utilization of his early career skill set. But I'm really in on Jalen Johnson. And if he plays and is healthy and just continues to progress how I think he'll progress, Jalen Johnson was going to win Most Improved Player last year. That was going to happen. Would you be shocked if Jalen Johnson is looked at as the best player in the Hawks after this year? No, not at all. Not at all. Franz Wagner at 41. I'm still in on the Franz experience. Insanely good athlete with a fantastic size who is competes like fuck defensively and really good playmaker, relentless getting to the rim. The 3-point shot has completely and totally abandoned him, and it does absolutely cap his ceiling, right? If he can, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's fixable. But if the 3-point shot at least gets to a more respectable place, right? If we crawl out of the 20s, and get to a more respectable place, all-star, all-NBA level stuff for Franz Wagner. Everyone would be shocked if Jalen Johnson, if the Hawks have a great season and people think Jalen Johnson's better than Trae Young, you think people would be shocked? I'm telling you, you're wrong. And I'm just going to say you probably haven't watched too many Hawks games. I'm telling you, that would not be surprising at all if that happens. That would not be surprising one bit. Some of that has to do with how low people are on Trae Young a lot of the time, but that's neither here nor there. In Zubats, I had Zubats not ranked, but I want to pat myself on the back a little bit because I remember saying this last year, like Zubats is going to be so big next to Harden, like he's going to be fantastic with Harden. Unfortunately, I wish I ranked him, but yeah, this might feel pretty high for Zubats to go from unranked to this. him and Harden's chemistry is insane. And it's a testament to how fantastic Harden is still at this stage in his career as a lead ball handler and just an incredibly great playmaker and table setter and a fantastic, maybe one of the greatest. I think there's probably arguments for Harden being the best pick and roll ball handler ever. But Zubac's perfect complement, unbelievable touch. Obviously, he's got that jump hook that's unguardable at his size, and was one of the most impactful defenders in the league, and an unbelievable rebounder. He's only 22. Yeah, Zubac's is one of those guys with his age. Zubac's role could drop a little with John Collins and be added to the team. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That could happen. Zubac's was top 30, maybe even second best center in the playoffs last year. Zubac's had like fringe all NBA cases. Yeah, Zubac's is one of those guys where you look at his age and you're like, really? And yeah, they did bring in Brook Lopez too, but I think that's just at this stage in Brook's career, I don't see that like cutting too much into what Zubac's does. Zubac's didn't make the All-Star team last season. Yeah, well, the West is just loaded. But by the end of the year, when people were sitting down looking at it, there were people who were making Zubac's All-NBA cases. Lopez is so slow, I'm not sure he'll even be playable. He'll just be a backup 5. I mean, they're not... who was their backup 5 last year? Wasn't it Eubanks by the end of the year? Who were they rolling out there? I mean, they were like playing small without Zubac's with like Batum, but who were they even running out there by year's end? Ben Simmons. That's right. Ben Simmons. Way too high for Zubac's. To each their own. Again, I've changed my stance on these guys over the years. Where, look, would I rather have like a flashy offensive guy that maybe is a little bit of a liability defensively? Okay, like here's a good example. Would I rather have a Tyler Hero or Zubac on my team, realistically? Obviously, it kind of depends on the makeup of my team, but I get a defensive anchor center who is fantastic screener, great pick and roll player. Pair him with any halfway decent pick and roll ball handler, and he's going to feast. And a fantastic rebounder. I'm taking that guy. Probably. That's just the truth. Yeah, Zubac is a little slow-footed, but I mean, that's always been problems. He's just so huge. I mean, Zubac is massive, just a massive human being. 39 through 35. I've got Julius Randle, 39, LaMelo, 38, Amin Thompson, 37, Sabonis, 36, and Jamal Murray, 35. So Julius Randle, God, he was awesome. He was so good against the Lakers in the playoffs last year. Julius Randle really had a great season. I mean, I think everyone was just kind of waiting for the Julius Randle shoe to drop and it to turn into a disaster, and it never did. In fact, it was the complete and total opposite. It was the complete and total opposite, pretty much, right? So really, really good year for Julius Randle. Do you want Sabonis on your team over Zubac? I'm gonna get to that here in a second. I'm gonna get to Sabonis here in a second because you guys know how I feel about Sabonis. LaMelo at 38, I just can't quit the guy. I don't know what to tell you. This is it though. Similar with who was it? Jalen Green. Obviously, LaMelo is 10 times the player Jalen Green is, but this is it for LaMelo. If LaMelo plays 30 games or just fucks off all year, I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. The guy's so insanely talented. I mean, so insanely talented, and he's a lot. I mean, he's tall, but he's kind of a lot like Tyler Hero. Where I think he's just bigger than people think. I think he's just bigger than people. He's 6'7". LaMelo being 6'7" is so fitting for so many different reasons. Just the biggest zoomer in the fucking league. I guess that's not even a zoomer thing, is it? That's an alpha thing, huh? Reports came out that Hornets, in a lot of ways, LaMelo is a generation alpha player through and through. Reports came out that Hornets will not hesitate to trade him if he doesn't show growth this year. I did see that. Very TikTok brain. All right, Amin Thompson, 37. High, sure. I'm so in on this guy. If you're here in the playoffs last year, Amin Thompson fan club, stand up. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. It's funny because I'm in on Amin. It's funny because I really wasn't before the draft, only because, and I'm not like super in on like draft stuff. The athleticism was cool, but I was like, you know what? 30-point shooting is never going to get there. I'm out on those guys. I guess it didn't really click for me. Just how absolutely fucking insane of an athlete he is. I mean, it is just totally insane, his athleticism. It's in a league where everybody in the NBA, outside of a handful of guys, like the wings and the forwards, are all some of the best athletes on the planet Earth, right? To be able to do what they do at their size, with how quick they are, their lateral movement, their verticality, all of that stuff. And Amin just looks head and shoulders better than anyone else. Like, that is, to me, insane. There's stuff that he does from time to time where it's just like, what? Like, when he does like a Euro step, and it's like lightning fast. His quick first step is lightning fast. I mean, you blink and he got to the rim. And his stuff getting to the rim was unbelievably encouraging last year. Unbelievably encouraging. And then, of course, how fantastic he is defensively. I am so in on Amin Thompson, and he's insanely fun to watch. It sucks for the Rockets. I do think this is going to sound weird, and bear with me here. Like Fred VanVleet getting hurt definitely takes them out of championship contention, I think. But it might make them more fun to watch, though. Does that make sense? Like, they're not going to be as good. At least their ceiling probably won't be as high. But they're going to be more fun to watch, I think. With Amin Thompson getting a little bit more and Reed Shepherd. So I do have Sabonis here at 36. Amin over Sabonis? Yeah, I wouldn't argue that. All right, I'm here to circle all the way back around on Domantas Sabonis. And I'm here to zag now. Because you guys know I was begging the Sabonis is not this guy drum when he was getting MVP votes. I was like, this is fucking preposterous, right? He's just not that guy, okay? And this is why I've had him in the mid-30s, even when people were saying he was an MVP level player. I was like, fuck that. That's insane to think. I am now here to zag more because now everybody is caught up on that, right? I'm here to say this Kings team is pathetic, all right? They're fucking horrible. It is one of the worst and most confusingly constructed teams I've seen in quite some time. It's a disaster. They have a team that is, especially after they traded Fox, pretty much completely built around Sabonis being your offensive hub, but you've put nobody around him that makes sense next to him. Nobody. You bring them. I called this when it happened. I said, look, it's cool that like DeMar chose Sacramento. Like for a franchise like Sacramento, that's cool. That a pretty high profile player chose you in free agency. The fit is horrible. Makes no fucking sense. Right? Like LaVine at least makes some sense to me. But Keegan having a 3-point rut, right? Even Fox wasn't like a fantastic fit. But it's just, they have failed him in some ways. I do think there's like a floor with Sabonis where if a new team, like a new expansion team came out and like they just picked Sabonis 1 of 1. If you built around him, I think there's a solid enough floor for you to be like really, really good offensively. Similar to that the Beam team Kings, right? Like a solid enough floor to be really good offensively, good enough to win games. But yeah, defensively, he's not good. Yeah, and they brought in Dennis Schroeder. And then they want Russ. This team's fucking stupid as shit. This is the dumbest team in the league, man. They have been for decades. They're fucking terrible. Team's horrible. Can't stand them. I don't know why. I don't know why they make me so angry. They do. They make me so mad. I don't understand it one bit. We want to build a team around our offensive hub, Domantas Sabonis. Okay, let's trade Tyrese Halliburton instead of De'Aaron Fox. Even though De'Aaron Fox is not a 3-point shooter, needs the ball in his hands, needs to operate in the mid-range game, and likes shooting mid-range jumpers. Let's pair that guy with Sabonis moving forward, and not the Tyrese Halliburton, floor general, can shoot threes, can do it all. Let's trade Fox. Let's trade Halliburton instead of Fox. I think you're right, but that still isn't going to make him the 36th best player in the league next year. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point. Jamal Murray, so this to me is more of like a... I'm pretty high on the Nuggets. This almost has to be like baseline where Jamal Murray has to be. If they want to actually win the finals, which they absolutely could, 100% the Nuggets could be a championship team. Jamal Murray has to at least be this. It cannot be lower. It has to be this. Has to be this. Jamal Murray is trash. You're overrating this bum. Maybe it's just gone. I mean, I do kind of partially agree with you guys. I've been lower on Jamal than most, really. But I think he could easily be around here. And if he is around here, there'll be a championship contending team through 100%. He's very inconsistent. Obviously, a bunch of injury stuff. Yeah, and I do think he's a guy who's out of shape a bunch. Very clearly, right? Both in terms of, a little pudgy, but like, also, I just think it's clear and obvious his conditioning is not very good. And yeah, he did play some, dude, the Thunder make everyone's life a living nightmare. Every lead ball handler's life an absolute living nightmare. I agree with you. We say that every year, though. If the Nuggets get this Jamal, they win. Well, we say that because they did. Like, not even that long ago. That is a thing that actually happened. So when stuff like that happens, you're just... It's not like Jamal Murray's 36. You know what I mean? Jamal was really good for the second half playoffs of this season. His burst was finally back. And I actually agree. He got much better as the season went along last year. 100%. And dude, I mean, again, they were the closest to beating the Thunder. I know the Pacers took him to 7. If Halliburton doesn't tear his Achilles, I don't know. That Pacers Thunder series was so bizarre because I never actually felt like, my God, I think the Thunder are going to lose this. The way it felt like that against the Nuggets. It felt like at times against the Nuggets, the Thunder are losing the series 100%. $34 through $30. I do have Kyrie here at 34. I'll talk about him here in a second. Tyrese Maxey, 33. Fox, 32. Garland, 31. And Jaylen Brown, 30. So those four right there, Kyrie, Tyrese, De'Aaron Fox, and Darius Garland, those four are always clumped together in every iteration of this list I had in my mind. And moving those four around was difficult. Obviously, Kyrie, I think, is the best of this bunch. I'm just going to be real with you. I thought he was going to be an All-NBA player last year if he didn't get hurt. That's the level of play he was at. Obviously, made the All-Star game. We just won't see him until halfway through the season, and it'll be coming off an ACL tear. So I am factoring that into the equation. And because of that, he might even be lower than this realistically, right? Maxey here at 33. This probably feels a little bit low for him, honestly. This feels a little bit low. Fox at 32. Pretty sizable make or break year for him in some ways. Garland at 56. Shocked that Garland has this big of a bump. Well, keep in mind that heading into last season, we were coming off of a really bad Darius Garland season. And obviously he was dealing with a multitude of different injuries. In fact, I think me having him at 56 was pretty high at the time. That's how bad he was a couple years ago. And he was great last year, man. He made the All-Star game. Like, he was really, really good. Yeah, this team just shits and pisses their pants in the playoffs. I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. I know he is awful in the playoffs. He is. But you watch him in the regular season, he's a fucking stone cold killer. Like, he's one of the most fun players to watch. He's got an insanely deep bag. He's a great passer. He's fun. He pushes the pace. He's a fun player to watch. And then I like him quite a bit. I'm low on Maxey. This is too low on Maxey. I'd probably swap Maxey and I'd probably put Maxey at the top of this grouping, personally. Fox is, look, I'm willing to give some grace on Fox because I think he was dealing with that hand injury for pretty much all the season last year. So I'll give him a little pass. I'm really interested to see what he looks like with Wemby. And I think he'll actually have a good year. Jaylen Brown might lead the league in scoring. So I heard Bill Simmons point out that could Jaylen Brown average 32 points a game? Is that not fucking nuts? I've said this, but there's such a big difference between having to be the number, like Tatum's out tonight. I'm going to be the guy offensively. That for 82 games. I think it might be a little rough for JB. Now, I could be wrong. If JB comes out and averages 28, 29, 30 points, I'll eat crow. I'd be so shocked. I'd be so surprised. And you know what? More power to you, Jaylen Brown. I'll never doubt you again. And he's an awesome player. I mean, don't get me wrong. He is an awesome player. I think he's a better complementary player, though. So that'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. So this like guard grouping was hard for me. I think all of these guys are neck and neck with each other. 29 through 25. All right, I've got Jaren Jackson Jr. 29, Harden 28, Trey 27, Ja 26. Again, that guard clump right there was hard, and J-Dub at 25. So, I mean, this felt very reasonable to me for J-Dub. ESPN had him at 11, which I cannot in good faith get behind at all. I do think he's a fantastic player, though. Like, top 25 is a huge accomplishment. Ja Morant at 26, really difficult player to rank, obviously. Really weird year last year. I'm interested to see what we see from Ja Morant this year. Because if it's similar to what it was last year, I think you have to start having some uncomfortable conversations about him. Like, in the sense of, if I'm the Grizzlies, what does my franchise look like with Ja Morant at the helm? You know? You don't have Jaren Jackson Jr. over Ja? No, I cannot get there with Jaren Jackson. I toyed with it for a little bit. I was like, do I actually think Jaren Jackson Jr. is better than Ja Morant? I just don't. I don't think that. I just don't think that. Harden, I mean, props to James Harden, bro. I mean, this guy is just going to be the most efficient isolation scorer. Wasn't he the most efficient ISO guy in the league last year by like a lot? I don't know. He just gets it done, man. He's lost some of that burst, absolutely, in his age, but he's still so fucking smart and crafty and gets to his spots. He's still an unbelievable floor general, at the very least. Bare minimum. Bare minimum, your offense is going to be good with James Harden in control. Trae Young. I'll always be higher on Trae Young than most. I'll always be a Trae Young defender. Valanciunas hasn't been ranked yet. He's coming up, though. Trae Young, I'll always be a big defender of him. You know, we talked about, earlier I talked about James Harden might be the best pick and roll playmaker ever, or at least in the conversation. I mean, Trae Young is up there as well. He is. I was thinking this last time. I was like, is Trae Young like the Kyler Murray of the NBA? But that's really disrespectful to Trae Young. Really, really disrespectful. Have you talked about who you forgot? Mitchell Robinson was the guy I forgot. I'd have Trae over Ja, honestly. Yeah, I could. I wouldn't argue with you. Any of these guys like being close is close. But I think J-Dub at 25 is perfectly fine. So you have Trae 15 spots ahead of Jalen Johnson in a predictive list, but wouldn't be surprised at all if Jalen Johnson was considered the best player in the Hawks after this year. No. I mean, I have Cooper Flagg in the 60s. But if by the end of the season I was like, dude, holy shit, Flagg might be the best player on the Mavs, that wouldn't surprise me that much. J-Dub is top 20 to me, and that's fair. All right, top 25, we're going to go one by one. Bam Adebayo definitely had a bit of a down year last year. The Heat were just a weird fucking limbo state mess for most of the season. I'm actually quite interested to see. I'm guessing they're probably going to trade Wiggins at some point, but I actually am interested to see him and Wiggins together for a full year defensively. I think it could be quite interesting. And I'm also interested to see as Khalil Ware continues to get better, what this pairing could look like. Bam over J-Dub's kind of wild to me. I'll always be a Bam guy through and through. I think he's still absolutely one of the best defenders in the league. And then on top of that, I just think he does things playmaking-wise that open up so many different avenues for you. But yeah, I agree. But I mean, you guys know I'm a ginormous Bam guy, and I'm here to say I don't think he had a great year last year. So Jaren Jackson Jr. for me, I cannot shake the feeling that I think he is soft, and I cannot stand how atrocious he is at rebounding the basketball. I cannot fucking stand it. So I will continue to be lower on Jaren Jackson Jr. than almost everyone else. I don't care. I don't care at all. There's something about his game that infuriates me sometimes. I'm just going to be honest with you. Cat here at 23. When Karl Anthony Towns is in uber aggressive, I'm going to go score, I'm going to get to the free throw line mode, this Knicks team to me feels damn near unbeatable. And if Cat is just kind of around that headspace for most of the year, I think the Knicks are just clear cut the best team in the East. I think that's where I've gotten to. I think the Knicks are just clear cut the best team in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, Cat is a nine. And if they go Mitchell Robinson at the 5 with Cat, good luck, man. Yeah, I don't like. I know Jaren Jackson Jr. looked terrible against the Thunder. I will throw that shit out though. I really will. That was a throttling. Same thing. It was like the same thing with the Heat with the Cavs. That series was such an ass blasting that, you know what? Cat currently just fouled you. Cat with the Knicks just it works. I'm looking at the jersey and everything. It works. It works. It really does. It really works well. I like him and Brunson together, and I hope with Mike Brown, when we saw this as their chemistry kind of improved over the course of the season, but can we get more 2-man action with those two? Can we make it a point to get Cat going early and often in games? And I think with Mike Brown, they will do that. Absolutely. I think that's something you will see. This trade did happen out of nowhere. That was one of the crazier trades. Most what the fuck trades. But it does it not work? Cat in New York works. But he is just such a problem offensively, man. And when it's what makes him frustrating as a player. When he's in, I'm getting a fucking basket no matter what mode. I'm going to drive to the rim. You're going to have to foul me, right? I'm going to post you up. I'm going to shoot over you. I'm going to pop from 28 feet. He's a damn near unstoppable. And it's what makes it is what makes him frustrating as a player. Because then he'll get into foul trouble on some stupid shit, or he'll just kind of shrink and pass the ball out. The Knicks defense troubles me more than the offense. People talk about offensive changes more than defensive fixes. Well, I'd say them making the step to start Mitchell Robinson, which is what they're doing, is a pretty sizable shift for them defensively. I think that's a pretty big adjustment. The Knicks Pacers series is one of the most entertaining basketball. Yeah, I mean, all Pacers series were fantastic. But yes, that Knicks Pacers series was unbelievable. Speaking of Pacers, at a certain point, you just cannot ignore what Pascal Siakam provides to a team. And I actually, before you guys say anything, I kind of thought about this. Siakam, J-Dub. Thought about those two. Right? Because some people might be like, what? You think Siakam's better than J-Dub? If I just had to have one guy be my best player, I think I'd want Siakam over J-Dub. But Siakam is, you know what? Siakam is Siakam going to be a Hall of Famer? What do you guys think? I don't know if he'll end up having the resume. But he could be the quintessential guy where it's that was almost the line for Siakam. If you weren't better than Siakam, this guy's just such a winning basketball player. Every team in the league would love to have Pascal Siakam, which is funny because he was pretty open and available on the trade market. He needs another ring or multiple deep runs. Yeah. Man, it's crazy to look at. He's only been a 3-time All-Star, which includes this past year. He always makes the playoffs, final championship, Eastern Conference Finals, pretty good. Yeah, I mean, he was awesome last year for them in the playoffs too. Absolutely awesome. It seems like he needs a winning environment to really apply himself. I mean, it's like he was god-awful on those Toronto teams. I mean, dude, he was pretty much that post bubble or after the finals year, after Kawhi left. I think it's kind of easy to forget that season. Like the Raptors were legitimately good, even without Kawhi. And Siakam was awesome in that season for them. If I'm projecting the entire next season, I believe Dub will be better than Siakam. I wouldn't argue. I would not argue that with you. That's like I wouldn't argue with you, like if you thought that. Sliding doors moment. Landry Fields refused to trade Buffkin, Hunter, and AJ Griffin for Siakam. Yeah, and I mean, I read something that the Warriors refused to trade Jonathan Kuminga for Siakam. Now, granted, Siakam did have some. Siakam was like openly telling teams who he would and wouldn't sign with. I think he did say he would sign with Atlanta, though. Am I misremembering that, Ashley? What up, Kay? All right, I have to hurry. I have a hard get off time in 20 minutes, so we gotta kind of cruise through these last few. Chet at 21, yes. So this is hilarious because if you have obviously all throughout the playoffs we were calling him Dog Chet. I was really kind of disappointed in a lot of the offensive stuff I saw from Dog Chet over the course of the playoffs. I've sat down and I've thought about it and I've collected my thoughts. Okay. Defensively, one of the most impactful defensive players in the NBA. Full stop, right? 100%. And he was phenomenal for them. So as much shit as I gave him for how bad he was offensively at times, especially in the finals, but in the playoffs, he was unbelievably great for them defensively. Unbelievably great. And it's funny because every Thunder fan in my life that I talk to, my friends that are Thunder fans, are like, yeah, man, Chet's like our second most important player because of how unbelievable he is defensively, right? And so, you know what? I 100% see a pathway where Chet takes an offensive leap. And he already kind of has. Like, he was looking really good before his injury last year. Like, he already sort of has, but he finds that consistency. He finds that consistency with this 3-point shot that can carry into the playoffs. And he's already skilled, as a ball handler at his size. But if that 3-point shot just finds some consistency, he's going to be one of the most impactful players in the entire NBA. It's technically the third season he's playing. It's his fourth year in the league. Wait. Yeah. The offensive leap is non-negotiable now that they paid him. Yeah, I mean, they're banking on that. They are 100% banking on that. So if you buy it, even if you buy like a 50% chance of it happening, he's got to be around here. And there's a guy in a similar situation coming up that I'll talk to a little bit more. I'll talk about more in depth. Şengün. I'm high on Şengün this year. Fuck it. I'll ride. I don't give a shit. If you guys know me, I'm a sucker for the Eurobasket stuff. I will ride it. I will ride any high from Eurobasket. And that made us look really smart a few years ago when Larry Markkinen popped the fuck off in Eurobasket. And we were like, hey guys, Larry Markkinen might have a great year this year. And he ended up making the All-Star game, obviously. Şengün. I'm kind of here for Şengün being the focal point offensively for the Rockets. I'm here for it, and I want to see it, and I want to believe in it. I thought he took a big step forward defensively last year, which is why I did not have him ranked. This was my biggest miss by far. I have to go back and listen to what I was saying about that. But I did not have him ranked because I was not a fan of the defense. And I just thought to myself, you got to be otherworldly as a center offensively to be like, bad, but he was rock solid as a defender for them last year, I thought. I know that was a ginormous miss by me. I have to go back and listen to what I said. I have to go back and listen. You know what it was? Is I think I was also on some like fuck some bonus shit last year. I think that was also kind of what I was on. And I was like, yeah, man, Şengün is like another bonus and fuck them. I really think that's where I was at mentally. But I'm in on Şengün this year. These young guys, man, that continue to get better and better. Like, why will they not continue to get better and better? Why would they not continue to grow? Şengün took a ginormous step forward last year. Why would he not continue to do that? He looked unbelievably good. He was fucking pound for pound, punch for punch with Giannis and Luka in Eurobasket. He just was. I know improvement isn't linear, but I mean, am I just going to sit here and be like, no, for this guy, no, this guy's done progressing. Like, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? Kind of crazy stray. I don't know. Man, I've been on some real... It's funny because, again, I defended Sabonis a second ago. D-Book here at 19. This is actually... I moved him up because he was in the 20s. And I thought, man, I'm monitoring this D-Book season with very high interest because I do think... there's been a noticeable enough downward trend in his play, even though his numbers weren't horrible, right? Or anything like that. But if you watched, something was just missing from the D-Book game. And really what it was it didn't feel... One of the things I've always loved about Devin Booker, even when the Mavs-Suns rivalry was at its peak, I loved how much of a competitor Devin Booker was. I loved it, right? I loved how much fuck you Devin Booker has in his game. And it really felt like a lot of that was missing at times over the last couple of years. So maybe I can toss aside and be like, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, where energy sucks on this team. And now Booker's ready with a new team and they're younger and they're not supposed to be good. Now Book's kind of like, let me be the guy. Let me be the captain. I'm intrigued by that. And yeah, his playmaking did take a bit of a step back. He's not a point guard. And I hate when they try to pencil him in as one. I just do. I like when he plays next to point guards. And yes, they are going to be doing the point guard shit again. So we'll see, right? Obviously, the Suns team is not very good, I don't think. But I'm interested because if we continue to see a bit of a downward trend for Booker, I'm perking up because he's not super old yet. I think he's like 27, 28 years old, which is crazy for considering how long he's been in the league. But he's played a lot of games and a lot of minutes. That in low key, kind of like some injuries have started to kind of pile up a little bit. That I'm gonna start looking at that. Yeah, I'm gonna start looking at that $150 million 2-year extension of like 4 years from now and be like, oh, Zion at 18. Am I doing it to myself? Am I being sucked into the skinny Zion? Zion is to me an impossible rank. I think you either have to not rank him or he has to be in the top 20. That's it. I'm sorry. No. You guys can't do any hell no stuff. If he's on the floor, he's a top 20 player. Like, I'm sorry to say it. All right? I don't give a fuck. If he's on the court, he's a top 20 player in the league. That's it. I'm not having this debate. Can he stay on the floor? There's been... I was actually listening to something, and I don't remember when, but it was some Pelicans talk, and they were like, yeah, anyone who's followed the Pelicans knows that Zion took a step forward last year. They just got hurt. But there was like a noticeable sort of attitude shift and all of this stuff a year ago from Zion. So if it's real, my favorite thing about Zion is how he finishes at the rim. Zion is insanely fun to watch. I hope he's healthy. I do. I really do. Never forget Kid Hack is Zioning up too. So for those of you who might not know what Connor's talking about, a couple years ago, the Mavs were playing the Pelicans. They were up by 2 points. The Mavs were with 10 seconds left, and the Mavericks intentionally fouled Zion to put him at the free throw line, where he went 1 of 2, and the Mavs won the game. Now, we've always wondered if there was that intentional? What was going on there? Did they not know the score? It's a contract year, and Zion's contract will be voided or percentage if he isn't under a certain weight, so it makes sense as to why he lost weight. Yeah, he's got all those weight stuff in his contract, but yeah, I mean, I hope that I hope he stays on the floor. If he's on the floor, to me, he's a top 20 player in the league. Like he is. He's unstoppable. He only stops himself. Kawhi at 17. What's there to say about Kawhi at this point? I mean, I don't know. He's Kawhi Leonard. If he's on the floor, I think he has actually, unfortunately, taken a step back or two. Obviously, that goes without being said. He's not an MVP guy anymore. But even watching the playoffs last year, I was always waiting. I was waiting and waiting. And the Kawhi robot takeover just never seemed to get there, which was a bit unfortunate. He's aspiring to be a top 20 player. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he'll play this year. We'll see. It's going to be, I don't know. Mobley here at 16. So this was the guy I was talking about with Chet. Both of these guys similar, right? Obviously, Mobley coming off Defensive Player of the Year. I do think he's a bit of a better defensive player than Chet right now, but they're pretty close. They're neck and neck. So the difference between Mobley and Chet and why I do have Mobley higher is I think this is the year. We already saw a pretty sizable offensive step forward for him a year ago. Now, the Tim Duncan stuff, that's probably never coming. But if we just continue to see growth from him offensively as he becomes a little bit more comfortable in his role, becomes a little bit more confident, obviously the three-point shot continues to progress and just the shot in general continues to progress, I absolutely think that Evan Mobley is a top 15 player or so. But Mobley could be a top 10 player. I just don't know if he has the fuck you in his game. That's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. We'll see. So I'm here on Mobley. Yeah, I mean he just won Defensive Player of the Year. Like I don't need to go to bat for the guy, really. Do I? Do I? All right, I'm going in top 15. If you're watching this, I've just started this. If you're watching this on the Slightly Biased Clips channel, hello, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys like the video. Liking the video goes a long way. I'm doing my top 100 list. I've already done 100 through 15. We're going to top 15 now. If you want to watch this, head over to the Slightly Biased channel and watch the stream to see my full list. But I want to get in the top 15 because we're immediately swinging. Right, I'm immediately swinging. I have some bold hot takes in the top 10. I don't give a shit. At 15, I have Paolo. I'll buy in every year. Every year I'll buy in until it happens. That's where I'm at with Paolo. It's going to happen. It will happen. I said the same thing with Cade. I'm going to continue I will buy in on Paolo until it happens. I don't give a shit. All right, I will buy it until it happens. You don't have that skill, the feel for the game, the playmaking upside that Paolo does possess at that size. That's going to work. You can show me the efficiency numbers. You can show me all of this. When I watch this guy play, and he was great in the playoffs for them last year too. When I watch this guy play, I see a superstar. I see it. I see it. I see superstar when I watch this guy take the basketball court. And sometimes, and you know what? We just talked about this, the fuck you in their games. Look, that's all. That's vibes-based stuff, which I love operating in. I love operating in the vibes-based sphere. And if I close my eyes, do I see Paolo Banchero with enough fuck you in his game? Absolutely. Absolutely. Only nerds don't like Paolo. It is. I mean, look, it's if you're an analytics guy and you're like, hey, look, man, I just crunch, like looking at the numbers and historically numbers tell us this. Yeah, Paolo's a very weird player because his on-off splits are terrible. He's not efficient. The like catch-all metrics hate him. But then you watch him play and it's like, this guy's 6'10", has a deep bag, gets to the rim, is incredibly strong, has incredible frame, is a good, talented playmaker. Like, what am I missing? What am I missing? There is something there that's just weird. At 14, I'm going Bron. I'm going LeBron here at 14. There's causes a lot of pandemonium and craziness. There was people who say LeBron was the best player in the Lakers last year. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think a hobbled Luka was better than Bron was last year. I think Bron actually took a step back. I think it was kind of noticeable. Now, the makeup of that Lakers team is so hilarious because Rob Pelinka's got awful dog shit at his job, right? He's fucking horrible and just lucks into everything, obviously. But their roster's god awful. God awful, right? I mean, horribly awful. Terribly embarrassing, actually. And LeBron was forced into being the best defensive player on the team. Right? Forced to being the best defensive player on the team. Look, man, he's going to be 42 years old. Projecting LeBron takes a tiny bit of a step back from being a top 10 player to still being an all-NBA guy, 14th best player. It's not that crazy. Okay? It's not that crazy. And I think for the Lakers even, LeBron not having to do as much, LeBron not having to be like, oh shit, do I have to be the best defensive player on the floor right now? Is that what's being asked of me? LeBron not being asked to do that is good. Okay? It's good. I personally, right? I think that's probably a good thing for their team. So I do project a little bit of a step backwards for LeBron, but he's 42 years old, and I still think he'll be a top 15 player in the league. So there you go. KD at 13. So this one I sat with and I thought about. I knocked KD out of my top 10. There's a couple of different reasons for it. Obviously, he's getting up there in age. The injury stuff, I've knocked down other guys for it. So I will knock down a little bit for KD. His son's journey was so bizarre and strange that while the scoring numbers were still fantastic, the efficiency was still otherworldly. And I do think he'll be in a much better situation in Houston, obviously. But now with Fred VanVleet out, I do think it'll impact him quite a bit. And I think, and I hope this isn't true. I hope that the Rockets don't look at this and think, well, we're going to have like a lot more Kevin Durant lead ball handler opportunities. But I fear that is actually what's going to happen. I fear that's what's going to happen. And I just don't think that's KD's strength. I don't think putting like a playmaking burden on him is his strength at this point. So that's what I'm a little bit worried about. Now, if it's like, hey, we're going to offensive hub Şengün and we're going to have a Min Thompson do a lot of things, KD just take advantage of mismatches, attack when you deem necessary, like that would be great. And I'm here for that. And I still think KD's going to have an awesome season. And I do think there's a world where KD plays 70 or so games and the Rockets are awesome and KD's like in MVP conversation. Absolutely. I think there's a world where that happens. But I mean, all of these guys at this point are fantastic. Like that's where we're at. We're in like the star range. Planting my flag here. This might feel high with Cade. I was pretty high on him last year. Like 30. I had him 37 going into the season last year. I think that was pretty high compared to where everyone else had him. Only because I saw the Pistons were like prioritizing getting shooters on their team. And I knew that would help him out tremendously. And after watching Pistons games, even though they were god awful 2 years ago, they had the longest losing streak ever. You could just see it with Cade. I'm 100% in on Cade. He's from the slums. When you're born and raised in Arlington, Texas, you have no choice but to either be horrible, degenerate person or great. Those are your only two options when you're born in that city, right? So for him, because it's the biggest piece of shit city in the country. So for him, yeah, greatness was always in the cards for Cade Cunningham. I mean, just his size, his skill, his strength. That's one thing you could notice with Cade. He's strong as a fucking ox, right? And you feel it. He's got, when these young guys, sometimes they come into the league and it's like kind of learning how to control their bodies in a lot of ways, right? I think Cade is entering another phase of his career where he's in that superstar tier and he gets talked about like that. His size, his playmaking, he just looked so comfortable last year. I mean, that was a step he took forward. He's always been good. If you watched the Pistons, you knew Cade Cunningham had it, regardless of how bad he was or how bad the team was. You knew Cade Cunningham. You saw it. You saw the flashes. Guys at that size don't flash stuff like that and then turn into nothing players. Yeah, and he turned the ball over a bunch, right? But he still felt in much better control of his game last year. And yeah, that's a great point, Connor. His size gives him a very high playoff floor. I thought he was great against the Knicks. Obviously, had some high turnover games and stuff like that. But for a first playoff series, Detroit Pistons, young team going up against this Knicks team that were pretty heavy favorites, even though there were some people who thought the Pistons could win that series. I thought Cade was really impressive. And I'm all in on him. And there's also, I think he's a good defensive player as well. Yeah, and if the Pistons are, I think a lot of people think the Pistons might take a little bit of a step back or maybe just be the same, right? Maybe not like take another leap forward. But if they do end up winning 50-plus games or something like that this year, yeah, I think Cade will be on MVP ballots. Cade above KD and Bron, I love it. Yeah, and again, this is a predictive list. So yeah, I've got a young rising star taking another step and getting above some of the grandpaps. Donovan Mitchell at 11. This one pains me. I wanted him to be top 10. I will not argue with you if you think Donovan Mitchell's top 10. He's just, I think Donovan Mitchell has just perfected his game. Like, I don't know if there's other leaps Donovan Mitchell will take. I think he just knows the exact role he's good at, right? I think he knows his strengths and he just has perfected them. Like, Donovan Mitchell is who Donovan Mitchell is. And he's, that's around the age he is. He's in the prime age. Mitch don't got it. I don't know. Don't got a reason, but he isn't here. He can be a frustrating player. And there is the Cavs playoff fatigue with some of these guys is real. Where it's like, all right, yeah, they've been great in the regular season, but like They've shrunk and shit and pissed themselves in the playoffs. And that's true. I have no argument against that. But Donovan Mitchell is still one of the most explosive players in the league. Still one of the best three-point shooters in the league. And it just... I was going to say it feels like he always gets good shots. It doesn't feel like that in the playoffs, really. But, he's the 11th best player in the league. It is what it is. Top 10. So Embiid, I had to rank him. And I originally had Embiid like 50. But then I thought about it more. And I was like, if I'm going to put him on this list, he has to be in the top 10. He has to be. If he's playing, I still think he'll be a top 10 player in the league. Now, I think he's not in the top 5 conversations anymore. And I do think that's a sizable drop-off. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it goes, obviously, with the knee issues. And this is kind of like a last. If Embiid plays 30 games this year or plays 50 and it looks kind of like a shell of himself, I think it's over. Like over. I think it's done. But if I had to guess what would happen for Embiid this season, probably around 50 games. Probably has a defensive step backwards as maybe his mobility isn't as good. But if I had to guess, I'd guess he's still this dominant offensive force that when, his outside shots dropping and he's got that mid-range game down is literally unguardable and unstoppable. Is this a ranking of number of minutes he'll play? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But I don't know, man. He's one of the hardest players, right? It's the same thing with Zion, where it's like, if I'm going to rank this guy, when he plays, like, he's a top 10 player. But we'll see. I've got AD at 9. Now, hey, in my defense, and look right there. In my defense, I had him at 10 going into the season last year. So, I've been AD's a top 10 player. AD's a top 10 player. I've been in that camp. So there you go. There you have it. I'm interested to see what this year looks like for AD, obviously. Kind of similar stuff, not to the extent of Embiid, knock on wood, but with the injury stuff and playing games. But he's heading into the season healthy. But, by and large, I think the eye shit's fine. But I'm going to be really interested to see what this year looks like for him. He's the number 1. Now, when I say a guy's a number 1 for a team, to me, that typically means he'll be having the ball in his hands the vast majority of the time. And even when teams are have big men who are their number 1 options, you look at Embiid, Jokic, those guys have the ball in their hands a bunch. I don't know if that'll be the case for AD. I'm interested to see. Right. But, golden opportunity for him. He's already a Hall of Famer, but this is a golden opportunity to put a couple of years on your legacy. And yeah, AD's still one of the absolute best defensive players in the league. And that in and of itself is incredibly impactful, but he's also a fantastic offensive player, even though he does have his flaws. And that gives him top 10 impact, right? AD can only be as best as a number 2, but he's unarguably a top 10 level player. Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it, for sure. He's probably the highest number 2 you can get. Does that make sense? Is this the best a number 2 can be without being an unquestionable number 1? You guys get what I'm saying? AD almost had a quadruple double against the Raptors. I know. I was sitting courtside that game. And then I think around at halftime or something, I looked at Nick and I was like, yo, AD might get a quadruple double. I was like, AD's on legit quadruple double watch. And I was sitting on the bench. I was like, AD, you need 3 blocks. I was courtside yelling that because he finished with 7 blocks, didn't he? I was like, 3, you got to get him in there to get 3 blocks. Mavs fans would be the happiest if they would have traded anyone but the second or third best player in the NBA for him. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't believe in Brunson. And by the way, the Mavs were 7-4 when AD played last year. And only Kyrie played in only one of those games. For as shitty as it was and how bad they were injured, That's not nothing. I don't think that's not nothing. Steph at 8. So interestingly enough, I did have Steph outside the top 10 for a while. And I sat down and I really thought about it more. And I was like, look, we give like Jokic rightfully all the praise in the world for just being the offensive engine and the team's just being great offensively. And I do think Steph has taken a bit of a step back. He had stretches last year where it was like, oh my God. He had stretches last year where it was like when like your dog starts to get older and like can't jump on the couch the same and it's a little bit more of a struggle to get on the couch. And you're just like, uh-oh. Like that, Steph had those shooting stretches last year where you're like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's a little scary. But he's still one of the best offensive engines in the league. Full stop. So he has to be up here. Leave the game before the game leaves you. Yeah. The gravity alone. Nobody in the history of the league has had it. And it's just the truth. It's just the truth. Nobody in the history of the league has had it. Right? You can make claims. I'm not saying he's the best ever or anything like that. I do not think anybody's had the gravity that Steph has had. Okay. I've got Brunson number 7. And to me, it kind of boils down to this. And I was thinking about it. Eastern Conference, obviously, hey, I need to win one game. I got to win one game. Who out east am I taking with Tatum's injury and stuff like that? And Halliburton's injury as well. This list is predictive, yeah. Who am I picking? Obviously, Giannis. But is second place not a no-brainer JB? Right? Like, this guy is I'm actually enamored by his career. His career should not make sense. And yeah, the East is dog shit. But his career doesn't make much sense. Small guard. Legitimately small guard. When we say small guard, sometimes like 6'4", 6, Jalen Brunson is a small guard. Built like a brick shit house, obviously. Small guard. Not an uber athlete. Not like and definitely didn't come into the league like this, but not like this knockdown 3-point shooter, can shoot from 30 feet. You know, not like a Chris Paul level offensive table setter. So his career doesn't make much sense, but yet he has blossomed into this player that is one of the best bucket getters in the league, has some of the best footwork in the league, and has some of the most motherfucking dog in the league, man. Late in games, balls in his hand, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a fuck who's guarding him. He doesn't care the score. He doesn't care if you miss the last shot. He doesn't care at all. It's go time. And it's been like multiple years in a row. Sometimes this stuff fluctuates with guys. Sometimes this stuff fluctuates with dudes. Like De'Aaron Fox, there was a couple years ago where like De'Aaron Fox was unstoppable in the fourth quarter. It fluctuates sometimes with these guys. Brunson's just that guy, man. He's just that guy. And I was just looking at this list and I'm like, I need to win one game at this point. Brunson or Steph. And I was like, I think I would take Brunson. Honest to God, I do. I think I would take Brunson. I think I would take Brunson. The intangibles. Yeah. And he's grown so much as a 3-point shooter, somebody who can like reliably space the floor. That was something he really wasn't doing with Dallas. And be like a spot up guy when needed. He has the ball in his hands so much. He rarely does it. Has become like a much better playmaker. Brunson over Steph in what context? If I had one game, and I don't give a shit. If I had one game I had to win, Brunson or Steph, I am taking Brunson in this juncture. At this juncture, I'm taking Jalen Brunson. I'm taking Brunson. Whole game. And that's that. Yeah, I got Wimby 6. That's too high. Get left at the train station. When this freight train takes off and just steamrolls through every stop along the way, stay at the fucking train station then. This is like, I mean, I don't even understand. Like, I don't even understand what we're even talking about with some of this. DVT bros, first and foremost. Obviously, that goes without being said. And you notice there's a DVT bump because you saw Sarr pretty high on the list as well. There's a DVT bump, obviously. But get left at the station. If he's healthy, he's top 5. Well, number 5 guy, I'm also banking on quite a bit. But I mean, if you can't see it, I don't understand when people are like, what do you not see with Wemby? What do you not see? The guy is like so much more impactful defensively than any other player in the league already. And if he just like takes one step offensively and it just becomes like, I mean, even like a good offensive player, which I would say he's solid right now, right? A little inefficient, turnover prone. I'd say he's solid, but if he becomes just like a good offensive player, I mean, best of luck, man. It's coming. I'm just telling you right now. Knock on wood, I would never wish this, and I don't want to wish this because I want to watch this guy's career flourish into the highest it can possibly be. We're talking like GOAT level, multiple time MVP, multiple time champion. Like that's the type of shit we're talking about. If you don't see it, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Okay. Anthony Edwards. So I can't. It cannot go ignored that Anthony Edwards had one of the most prolific 3-point shooting seasons in the history of the game of basketball, right? Like if you were to eliminate all of Steph Curry seasons, like Anthony Edwards had one of the best 3-point shooting seasons ever. Okay. It can't be ignored. It cannot be ignored. So I'm you guys know this. I've loved Anthony Edwards. Again, when we talk about just competitive and having motherfucker, it's a vibes-based thing. You know, can you even like really, can you even like, put numbers to something like that? No, probably not. But he's got some of the most fuck you in the league. Now the playmaking stuff, it is interesting because we've kind of talked about it. It has improved. Don't get me wrong. It's most certainly improved. But for him to reach the heights that I absolutely think he's capable of reaching, that has to get there. And we are kind of reaching the point where it's like, all right, can we see it now? Like now we kind of have to see it. Yeah, back-to-back conference finals as well. I mean, that's not nothing either, right? That's not nothing. Fitting put the picture of him on the mic because it's the best part of his game. Yeah, this guy, and I'm hoping, and he's had some off the court stuff that's just like, if I'm like a branding company or something, I'm like, ugh. Nothing horrible. He hasn't committed crimes or anything like that. But yeah, this guy absolutely faced the league upside. If 3 or 4 years from now, would it surprise me if like Anthony Edwards on the fronts of all like the ESPN and Amazon like marketing packages? No, that would not surprise me really at all. He has some dirtbag in him, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, so Anthony Edwards was like, I need to be a better 3-point shooter. Okay, I'll just become like the second best one in the league this year. He has that level. And now he's working on a post game. And Zach Lowe brought up that a few years ago he said he was working on a post game. But now he's working on a post game, and we'll see. We'll see what that ends up turning into. The post game stuff is probably the most hit or miss stuff that you hear. He's working on a post game. Usually all it takes is like a week. It's like, all right, that doesn't work. Like usually it's like, all right. I think Hallie would have maybe been around 10 for sure. Tatum, I probably would have had Tatum at 7 personally. When people are like, well, Tatum's clear-cut top 5 player. No. I don't think that at all. I probably would have had Tatum at 7 behind Wemby and Ant, personally. So anyways, there's obviously another ceiling that Ant can reach. Another level Ant could reach. And even if this is who he is, he's still, in my opinion, around here. But if he takes a step forward, obviously he's in a different convo. All right, top 4. All right, get the popcorn out and get everything ready. Because we've entered, and this has been the case for a few years now, but now we've entered the tier gap. And I absolutely do think there's a tier gap. Now, outside of this tier, I do think Wemby is the one guy that I would say is possible to break into this tier this year. I don't know if Ant can realistically. But here we go. Top 4. Look, man, I'm just going to say this right off the rip. And it used to be like, for me, a year ago, 2 years ago, it used to be like these four guys were in the same tier. And then like, honestly, Shea was kind of a distant fourth. It was mainly like the main three guys. I do think all four of these guys, and listen, if you wanted to make any of these guys your number one player, I would not even argue you. I really wouldn't. Okay? I really would not. Three of these guys are MVPs. Three of these guys are finals MVPs. So at 4, and again, remember, this is a predictive list. At 4, I do have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, incredible player. And if you guys have followed this channel at all in years prior, you guys know I've been all over Shea. I've told you guys who Shea's going to be. And you guys have yelled at me for it. And I've sat there and taken it like a good little boy because I knew I was going to be right. It's funny. Somebody sent me a tweet. Someone sent me a tweet a couple days ago, a couple-year-old tweet, where I said, somebody was like saying it's fucked up to even think Luka and Shea are close. And all I quote tweeted was like, no, Shea's pretty close. And they wanted to kill me, guys. They wanted to drag me through the streets like Mussolini because I said Shea's pretty close to Luka a couple years ago. And I was right. The reason why I have Shea 4th and not 3rd, 2nd, or 1st, and again, Shea's at the point now where I won't even argue with you. If you want to put him 2nd, 3rd, 1st, I don't care. Fine. Incredible scorer, good defensive player. Although I don't think he was fantastic defensively last year, but he didn't need to be. Not a weak defensive player, which is incredibly beneficial in and of itself. But I thought last year, and Luka fans, please don't yell at me or scream at me. I thought last year was one of the most unstoppable guard seasons I've ever seen from a scorer. And I know Luka had the year before, but Shea was just literally on another planet, like automatic. It was unbelievable. Got to a spot every time. You knew exactly where he was wanting to go every time, and it didn't matter. His mid-range shot is unbelievable how automatic it is, right? And he draws a lot of fouls. Why? Because he's unstoppable and unguardable. That's why, okay? The reason I have him 4 is I just wish he was a better playmaker. And he's a fine playmaker. But if he was like a really, really, really good playmaker, he'd be the best player in the league, okay? That's just that. He'd be the best player in the league if he was a legitimately great playmaker. And again, he's good. He's good, okay? He is good. He's a good playmaker. And he had games in the playoffs where he was taking games over with his playmaking and completely changing games with it when defenses were starting to shift towards him. I forgot what game it was of the finals, but he completely took the game over with his passing. So I just want to say that. I think he was awesome. MVP season with the Chet handicap. At number 3... yeah, game 7, 12 assists. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I have said this, and I think I'll still say this. I think if I had to pick an MVP right now, I think I might take Giannis. It's insane what he's been doing. Over the last couple of years. Now, the one thing I will say about Giannis is I do think defensively there's been a somewhat noticeable step backwards. I mean, this is a guy who's won Defensive Player of the Years. So he's not at that level anymore, which I think does kind of factor into these talks. But what he has improved at, obviously the 3-point shot fucking sucks, but the mid-range shot has become something of a weapon for Giannis. And if that continues, and it was great in Eurobasket, and if that continues to grow, then I don't know what the hell he would ever do against this guy. But also, he's improved leaps and bounds as a playmaker, right? Leaps and bounds as a playmaker, okay, through and through, and to the point where it's like, would I be shocked if Giannis averaged a triple-double this year? Honest to God, no, I would not be shocked. I would not be surprised at all if Giannis averaged a triple-double this year playing with the Bucks. And with Dame out and with their backcourt being as shitty as it is, that really wouldn't shock me. Now that would be he'd have to average 4 more assists in his career high. So yeah, but I want to say though, think about where we're at in the NBA. That's why I've said like the league is in such a good place. That's why I push back on all these annoying as fuck old heads who want to do nothing but cry and complain and bitch all the time. I want to talk about how awesome their era was. Yeah, all NBA eras are awesome. Think about how insanely good Like, think about what we're talking about here. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's having one of the most like dominant scoring stretches we've ever seen from a guard, being like the 4th best player in the league, coming off of an MVP and a Finals MVP, is just like, yeah. And then like Giannis, who's been averaging 30, 12, and 6 for like years now, is the 3rd best player. People are like, yeah. I mean, you'd get argued, and that's fine. And I really wouldn't argue with you, honestly. I don't, you know. I won't argue it with you, really, but top 2. And I want you guys to understand, these are my, there's no clickbaiting, there's no anything. This is really what I believe. I've never been one to clickbait. I've never been one to say something I don't believe. This is what I believe. I truthfully do. I have Jokic at 2, and I do have Luka at 1. Now, let me explain, and let's get into it. So, Jokic is unbelievable. He's incredible. If we are going to do the Eurobasket thing, yeah, it's a little alarming how he looked. But Jokic, fantastic. What needs to be said about Jokic that hasn't been said a million times already? I did think last year, and the big reason why, and the main reason why I was like, Shai is the MVP, is I thought Jokic was bad defensively. Now, he's never been a good defender, and I do think in the past he's been like an average defender, and that's been just good enough with his offense. Last year, I thought he was just straight up bad defensively. And if that's a trend that continues, this conversation, and I want to say this, I think there's been years in the past where it's like, yeah, Jokic was like clear and cut the best player in the league, right? 2 years ago, I thought Luka was the best player in the NBA. Full stop. I did, 100%. I thought Luka was the best player in the league that year. And last year, I think Shai was probably the best player in the league, or at least I thought Shai deserved MVP. And if you want, maybe Jokic was the best player in the league, but this idea that's kind of been tossed around, and I think I've entertained this idea in the past, but this idea that's kind of been tossed around where it's like, well, Jokic, like it's been since LeBron in like the 2010s that a player's been this much better than the rest of the league. I just don't think that's the case, really. I just don't think that's the case. Right? No. Last year, Luka was not very good. 7th consecutive year of Luka being ranked number 1. You're right. You are right. More insufferable if Sally Bias more insufferable if the Mavs are good or if Luka wins MVP this year. What would I be? The Mavs are good. So let me talk about Luka being number 1. Again, 2 years ago, I thought Luka was the best player in the league. I said it at the time, and I'll continue to say it, right? Last year was rough for him. There's no two ways around it, man. I'll just come out and say it. You guys know I've never been shy with my opinions on Luka. I thought he was out of shape coming into the season. In fact, I'll just tell you guys this. I know he was out of shape coming into the season. I know, despite what some of these dog shit reports are, I know they had a goal for him and what they wanted him to look like entering the season. And I know he did not hit that goal. I know this happened. And I know the calf injury and recovery, he put on weight and it was not something that they were happy about. Okay? And he spent the entire year last year dealing with these lingering calf problems. Now, that's something that concerns me. And I've been open about this. Is that, how long has it been now that we've had Luka dealing with something? Whether he was missing time, and last year was the first time he missed significant time with an injury, but whether he was missing time with an injury or in the process of recovering or playing through something. Okay? Now, that being said, he looks good now. He's healthy. 2 years ago, when, end of the year, Luka started to deal with that knee injury. But up until then, I thought he was the best player in the league. He's not, to my knowledge, dealing with an injury currently. And again, he's somebody who's had these lingering injuries that I think has been due in large part to him not taking his body seriously. That's just the truth. I do think that this is the Luka year. Now, to be fair, and DQ made a good point about this a second ago. I've said this every year for 5 years. And DQ said 7 years. It hasn't been 7 years, but it's been about 4 years or so. Really, ever since we've done this. I've said this is a Luka year. And I'm going to be real. And again, I've never been shy about saying my opinion on Luka. If it's not this year, I don't know when the fuck it's going to happen. I do not know when it's going to happen. Truth be told. And yeah, he was bad. He was bad last year. By his standards, he was. And I don't give a fuck. Like Luka stands have thrown, anytime I've said stuff about this, Luka stands have thrown his numbers in the playoffs. Look, Luka's always going to have great numbers. I need Luka stands to process this. And I love it. This is the slightly biased experience. I put Luka at number 1 in my rankings, and here I am arguing against Luka stands. I need Luka stands to understand this. Luka's a fantastic player no matter what. He's going to put up crazy numbers no matter what. Now, for me, and this is when the Mavs drafted Luka, the moment I saw Luka as a rookie, all of this, my expectations for him went from, oh, hopefully this guy can be the face of our franchise, to this guy can be a top 10 player to ever play the history of the game, in the history of the fucking sport. So those were my expectations immediately for him, right? And those expectations are lofty, and they come with a lot of different things. Now, I've never been insecure in what I thought Luka could be, so those were my expectations for him, right? And I'd be hard on him because of that, because I think he can get there. Now, I got to say, I think a lot of people, they're insecure about their thoughts on that. And so they get really mad at you if you point out all the stuff that he has to do that. We're not talking like, it's not like, oh, well, he averaged 33 and 10. Like, he's a top 10 player ever. You have to win multiple rings. Multiple. Plural. And there are things that I think he hasn't done just yet to guarantee that. His conditioning hasn't been good. He's flamed out in the fourth quarter of games. This is something that's plagued him his entire career, okay? It's just the reality of the situation. And defensively, yeah, I mean, last year it was fucking dreadful, and he was hurt and dealing with stuff. But last year it was dreadful. 2 years ago, man, I give Luka props because, yeah, he wasn't great defensively against the Celtics, but all throughout that postseason with one leg, I thought he was competing his ass off defensively. So I was never really harsh on him. I was never really harsh on him. Did Eurobasket convince you? Genuinely asking? Yes. I mean, it pushed me over the edge a little bit. Again, remember, I thought Luka was the best player in the league 2 years ago. So it's not like I'm just pulling this out of my ass. I thought he was the best player in the league 2 years ago. I watched every game Luka played last year, clearly dealing with injuries, clearly fat and out of shape. Let's just call a spade a spade. And then, the last I've seen him play, he's healthy, in shape, taking his conditioning very seriously, and looked absolutely unbelievable. I'm a Laker fan, and Luka stands already worse than LeBron stands. Yeah, they're horrible. They're awful. It's not a surprise to me. Bro was injured and recovering. Of course, he's not going to be in shape. Truth be told, he shouldn't have played any game. I think he was just playing because of competitiveness. In the playoffs, yeah, that's fine. I mean, he was bad. If he's on the floor, he's going to be talked about, okay? So anyways, that's what I actually think. It's a predictive list, and this is what I do believe. I think thinking he's better than Jokic is being delusional. I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and get in an argument with you if you think Jokic is the best, right? I'm not disagreeing with you. Just feels like can't wait to do this next year. See you guys again next year. I'm not disagreeing. Why does it feel out of place all summer? I still don't think this is a great Lakers team with the roster construction. And I look, I'll do the GQ stuff. And I said this, I don't remember where I said this at. Did I say this on this stream? All of that shit's for the birds, man. I don't give a fuck about the photo shoots, man. Fuck the photo shoots. The photo shoot is petty ass bullshit for the birds. It just is, right? It is. The Mavs are being petty too. I don't care. Both sides are being petty about it. Fine. And Luka deserves to be petty. Cool. I don't give a fuck about any of that. All right. That shit's for the birds. You want to get your revenge? You get your revenge by showing up and playing and being healthy and being Luka Doncic. That's how you get your revenge. Okay. Fuck GQ. I don't care. I don't care at all. So there you have it. Another successful top 100 list. And I'm 30 minutes past my hard get off time. I'm fucked. I'm actually fucked. I have to go. I have to go right now. All right, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. I got to go, and oh man, I'm dreading this, folks. I got to go and get my ass handed to me. I got to go and get my ass handed to me at PT. This is going to be bad. I'm about to go and get shit on. About to go get shit on. All right, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. All the OGs, guys, love you very much. Could have spent. I'm bad with time. Could have spent your Friday afternoon anywhere in the world. You decided to spend it here. New subscribers, I promise you guys not regret it. Donations, remember, you guys never have to do that, but helps out church. Something makes you feel so good. You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. I will talk to you all again on Monday. We'll have a lot of really good and entertaining media day stuff, I'm assuming. So that's what we're talking about on Monday. I'll talk to you guys later. Love you all. Bye.